Welcome to Manhwa Recaps, spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. Huge shout out and special thanks to the channel members. The manhwa starts with a woman screaming as her head is being palmed like a basketball. A horde of monsters are seen surging through the city. The citizens are trying to flee, but nobody in these streets are safe. A giant explosion occurs as we see two people clashing weapons. The man rears back his blade and then charges it, and swings forward with everything he has while screaming. The enemy blocks it and, with ease, deflects the attack back, causing another giant explosion. The swordsman then stabs his sword into the ground and says that sure is incredible, as expected of the Death Knight. This is the Empire's strongest swordsman, named Oz. As the Death Knight stares at him, Oz begins to fade out of existence. His helmet cracks open and it falls to the ground. He then starts holding onto his head, almost falling over. As we see, his eyes are completely red. He groans until they come back to a normal color. He then looks genuinely surprised, and laughs out of surprise. He looks around at the destruction. He sees the flag of the Empire, but then we hear the Lich saying that this is good, and he has finally brought this cursed empire down to its knees with his own hands. There's an old saying that goes something like, the longer the wait, the sweeter the revenge, and he's finally accomplished what he set out to do 1,000 years ago. So surely they can imagine how joyous he is right now. He begins laughing while looking at who I assume is the king behind him, and his name is Dorgo. The emperor, named Howard Adelite, asks how dare he massacre the people of Helios, and he calls him a filthy devil, asking if hell is not enough for him. Dorgo asks if he's done yapping, and if they can proceed with the coronation now. Howard asks what he's talking about, and if he's really planning to hold one. Dorgo says that he's unified the entire continent for the first time in history. Being called emperor is hardly too much for that. The Emperor Howard can't do anything, and accepts his fate. Then Dorgo begins to float into the air, telling his demon kings that they have done well, while also telling his Death Knight he did great too, and they should bring the imperial crown. As we see it being brought forward by the Death Knight, Dorgo laughs and floats forward saying that the Death Knight is his most loyal knight, and he has played the greatest role in bringing him here, wondering how he should reward him for his great service. The Death Knight stares at him, but Dorgo seems to be thinking about something. As it turns out, he asked him something telepathically. Dorgo tells him that was a foolish question, and he is his slave. Serving him is the greatest reward. The Death Knight throws the crown into the air, and Dorgo goes to catch it before the crown gets cut up as the Death Knight attacks Dorgo. The other demon kings are all surprised by this, but we see Dorgo holding his hands out as he's put up a barrier to block the attacks. The other demon kings immediately surround him to defend from the Death Knight's attacks. Dorgo grunts in pain and holds onto his chest, asking him what he's doing. He had his defense on, so how was he harmed, as he never gave him that order anyway. The Death Knight says finally, he's moving by his own will. As his eyes are still completely full of life, unlike they were earlier, Dorgo asks what he's saying, as he erased his consciousness completely. The Death Knight says that it only looked that way. The truth is, he never disappeared. He was watching everything while trapped inside of his own body. Dorgo is surprised, saying that he's truly his greatest masterpiece. For his achievements, he'll allow him to vent his anger just this once, only until he finds a way to take control once more. The Demon Kings charge the Death Knight. As they get closer and closer, we see a bright purple light that even covers Dorgo's face, as all of the Demon Kings are sent flying into pieces. Dorgo can't believe they were all defeated in a single strike and raises his hand, saying in that case, as there's a giant pile of corpses behind him, he begins to use necromancy to raise them. They charge forward, about to overwhelm the Death Knight with sheer numbers. The Death Knight's looking down at his hands, and then tells them all to stop. As he stretches his hand out and starts to grow some black demonic wings, a purple aura begins to envelop him, and he tells them to surrender. As he clenches his fist, we see all of the undead freeze up before a bright light begins to appear throughout their bodies, and they all explode, sending that purple aura throughout the entire area surrounding Dorgo. Dorgo shakes, saying this can't be, as he's created a monster equal to the gods. He understands that he's furious, as he would feel the same way. He's just buying time, because even if this body is destroyed, he'll transfer his soul to another vessel and regain control of the Death Knight. The Death Knight says he was trapped for all those years. He only had one thing to do, and that was to think. So he thought of how to kill him. As he starts to widen his stance, a blue aura begins forming this time. He says to kill him, he created a sword technique that severs even the soul of the Demon King. Dorgo says there's no way a technique could exist, and that looks dangerous, and he tries to dodge the attack, but it's too late. As we see him teleport backwards, but it's not enough, as the Death Knight stomps forward, shooting out the attack, it passes straight through Dorgo, sending fragments flying out. Right after Dorgo looks down a bit worried, but feel relieved as he's okay, then says of course he'd be okay. He says there's no way such a technique would exist, before a black aura flies out of his throat, and he begins screaming. It starts splitting even the sky, as the technique is that powerful, before it flies up into the vortex it created. The Lich's eyes flicker violently one last time, before an explosion occurs directly overhead. His skull falls onto the ground then rolls directly beside the Death Knight. The Death Knight raises his leg, telling him to go to hell, as he smashes Dorgo's skull. Howard begins shaking, wondering what the hell is going on. The Death Knight falls to his knees and he sighs, saying that it's finally over, and he says there's one last thing for him to do. As he raises his sword, he says he needs to apologize to them, even if he can only meet them in death. It turns out, while he was under the control of Dorgo, he helplessly watched as his own body ripped away at his family, brutally murdering them. Blood begins flying as he has impaled himself with his sword. We hear a woman calling out to him, as we learn his name is Damien. He recognizes the voice as someone named Louise. As his visions black, slowly a light begins to appear, and he opens them. She asks him why he's sleeping here, and he says he's so glad he gets to see her before falling into hell. But he's surprised that he gets to see such a real vision, wondering why she looks so young. She asks why he's flattering her out of nowhere, and if he's trying to get on her good side before father scolds him again, and that he can count on his big sister. It might rain soon, so it would be better for him to hurry inside. As he watches her run away, he says he definitely destroyed this mansion with his own hands. He looks down at his hands in disbelief, saying this might be a dream. And he then begins to wonder if maybe everything regarding him being a Death Knight was maybe the dream instead. He looks down at a twig, saying that he'll find out soon enough. He picks it up and points it at a rock, saying this feels just right. He dashes forward and rears back the twig, before thrusting forward into the rock. The twig shatters completely, and he looks surprised, as the rock is completely intact. He laughs, saying this is insane. Turns out I'm an awful narrator, that shit got absolutely rocked. He starts laughing a little bit before he goes into full, uncontrollable laughter as he holds his head, looking at the sky. He then drops to his knees and starts shaking. Rain also begins pouring as he grips his chest tightly. He says this is not a dream, and he really has returned to the past. We learn more about him before he became a Death Knight. He says that he has only one talent, and that was the talent of sullying his family's honor, as his father yelled, asking why he's always causing drama, and why he would even get himself kicked out of a bar. Then another time, his brother barged into his room, asking why he hit the young master of the Lion Bloom March. It's all because of him that Louise, as we see her on a carriage, getting dragged away, forced into marriage. The only thing he's ever done is stomp on his family's future. His mother begs and screams, asking why he borrowed money, with the family's land as collateral, as he also got all of their properties taken away, and as a result of that talent, he was forced to leave, put into exile by his father. As he went to leave, his sister Louise called out to him, telling him to take some money, as he has to be happy. He was just surprised that she gave him this, even though he ruined her life. He's hesitant to reach the money before he snatches it and runs out. The day he ran out, as if escaping the family, he understood what guilt and shame was for the first time, and he did nothing but sob. Now the rain has stopped, and he wonders how he came back to the past. He did want to apologize to his family, but to come to the past is crazy. As if it was a miracle, the sky starts to part, and a giant ray of light shines down on him. He says that there's no other way to explain it. His hand begins shaking, and he says just as he thought. His body is so untrained, it was tough to even use this technique that is called wave breaking. It is a technique that amplifies the impact of a blow by several fold. As we see him dodging that giant hammer, he rears back his fist and swings forward, and he says that he obtained this technique after killing the knight called the Castle Wall Destroyer. We hear someone else calling out to him, calling him young master. Bro looks like an onion. Damien looks down at him, wondering what his name was again, and says that he thinks it was Victor. Victor asks why he's still out here, as Louise told him to return, so he should have gone already, and the patriarch is furious. Damien asks what he did. Victor wonders if he truly doesn't know, but Damien is just confused. Inside of his family home, who we learn, is the Hoxton Viscounty. His father's calling him a bastard, as he swings down with his sword overhead. Damien barely dodges, and his father glares at him. His mother and sister start pulling him back, as his father asks if he really went to a bar to cause a commotion, wondering how much more their family's honor needs to be tarnished. Damien says that he's glad he returned back to this moment. His mother and sister start asking his father if he really planned on killing Damien, telling him to think rationally. Damien just wonders how long it's been since he was scolded by his father. Even though it's bad, he missed him so much. We learn that his father's name is Paul Osborne Hoxton. His mother is Marilda, and we already know his sister. Damien begins shaking because of how much he missed it, and he starts crying. His mother and sister say that Paul was too mean, but Paul sheathes his blade, asking what excuse he has this time, saying if he has a mouth to speak. Damien says he doesn't have any excuses. His father says, of course. Low-key not even listening to him for a second, thinking that he'd be coming up with something, but instead is surprised that there wasn't one. He says there's no way. He's always pathetic with his excuses and defense. Damien says he was aware, but hearing him say that hurts. He sullied the Hoxton Viscounty with his mistake, and it is completely his fault with no room for excuses. His father says that his mouth sure is alive, asking if he thinks that he'll let it go this time. Damien bows, saying that he'll make up for it. He turns, saying that he will fix the mistakes he has made, and afterwards, he'll be punished properly when he returns. Everybody's kind of just confused. Paul wonders if he hurt his head after getting beaten up too much. Damien heads to the merchant city, Landork. As we see him and Victor in an alley across from a building, Victor tells him that they've arrived, asking if he's really going to go in, as there are rumors that the syndicate supports them, and he's worried something bad will happen. Damien tells him that if he's scared, he can go back first. Victor says he can't do that. If he's going, there's no way he could escape. Damien tells him not to worry, as he will sincerely apologize to the owner, so there's nothing that could happen, and he'll make up for what he did. Damien says it'll be great if things work out now. As he walks forward, he passes by a church and says that he doesn't know how he came back, but if God has given him another chance, he cannot hurt him again, and the talent of stomping all over his family's future will be no more. The two bouncers look at him, asking why he's back, and they warn him not to show his face a second time. Damien says he doesn't remember well, since it's been so long, but they look really familiar, and he tells them that he wants to apologize to the owner because of what he did last time. They're both a little confused and then start laughing, saying that sure is a funny joke, and that he must only be acting respectful because he's a noble, and that they heard that he was the eldest son of a shitty family, but he must be better than they thought, but they heard that the lady of the family is a rare beauty. Bandana says that he didn't think there would be anything useful in the family, and then starts slapping him, saying that he wants to accept his apology, but he needs to introduce his pretty sister to him. Damien says this is so hard, as he pulls the knife out of that guy's hands. He says he thought he could do it and just apologize in return, but he overestimated himself. Bandana asks what the hell he's yapping about before his hand gets sent flying through the air. They look down at it, confused for a second, and before the realization sets in, he stares at his hand before screaming and dropping to his knees. Damien says that since they want it, he'll show them properly what the Hoxton Viscounty's shitty oldest son is truly like. Victor, watching this on the side, says he thought they were going to make things right, but bro's a lunatic. I feel for him. As Bandana begins screaming, some other civilians also notice this, as we see Victor watching from the alley still. The other guy asks if he even knows who they are. Damien says that he doesn't care who they are. They just need to finish what they are about to do. The dude tells him it sounds cheesy as hell, but he needs to listen. No one's ever gotten away with messing with them, the Black Snakes, as we see it tattooed on his hand. Damien says that he finally remembers the Black Snakes, an organization that had been expanding their influence here in the city around this time. This was one of the bars they had been looking out for, and when he complained about the overpriced food, they beat his ass and mocked him in front of everyone. And now that he thinks about it, he's the one who should be receiving an apology here. The other guy asks why he's smirking, and that he's not going to go easy on him just because he's a noble, so he better be prepared. He charges in, readying his sword, and he swings down. Instead, he just cuts a couple hairs off of Damien's head. The guy is surprised, but as Damien dodged the attack, he stuck his foot out, causing the dude to trip and eat shit. As he hits the floor, he starts coughing and holding his nose. Damien tells him that it wouldn't be enough to kill him right here and now. As he grabs onto his leg, he tells him to endure it for the sake of his family. As he starts cutting the dude's tendons, the guy begs for him to stop, but all we see is blood flying and hear him screaming, as they are both now holding onto their wounds. Someone yells, asking what the hell is going on here. Damien turns, seeing a group of men to his side. They ask if he is from another organization, wondering where he's from. Damien says it's nothing like that. He was here to apologize, but then he realized that he should be the one getting an apology. He has to make a complaint to the owner of this place, so they should guide him. The dude says he's not sure what nonsense he's yapping about, but if he's not willing to tell, then they'll just beat the shit out of him. And he points, telling his men to get him. As three of them start charging directly towards him, Damien says this is bothersome. He takes in a quick breath, before dashing off the ground. He sends the first guy's arm flying, before dashing to the second, sending his as well. And then, that poor last guy lost both of his hands. How is he going to wipe? As Damien cut off all of them, he then comes to a stop, and the dude is completely surprised, as his men are all on the floor screaming. Damien says he can't believe he's gassed out just from that, asking the dude if he wants to continue. He says no, but if he's willing to forgive them, then he would like to make amends. But Damien starts chasing him. The guy runs and turns, seeing Damien's hand, and all we hear is a nasty crunch sound. Back inside of the bar, we see people enjoying their day, until the door gets slammed open. They all turn, and we see the guy tweaking from Fent. As we see him holding the guy by his shoulders, bro turned this dude into a fucking owl. He drops him, saying that this is why they should have listened when he was being nice. Everybody starts to get scared, and he wipes the blood off his face, wondering why they're freaking out. But they start running away, and he says whatever, now the nuisances are gone. A man from above leans over the balcony, asking what's with all the noise and where his guards went. This is the bar owner named Anderson Homer. Damien says that he must be the owner of this place, and if he's referring to the guys outside, he dealt with them. As he looks at the other guy on the floor sleeping, Anderson's in disbelief that he defeated the members of the Black Snake, and asks him who he is to make such a mess of someone else's territory. Damien introduces himself, as Anderson asks if he means he's from the Hoxton Viscounty. Damien says yes, he's not here to make a mess, he's simply here to receive an apology from him. Anderson asks what he's talking about, so Damien tells him the food is way too overpriced. It's like Salt Bay's shitty restaurant. He made a complaint, they beat him up and threw him out, and thanks to that, people consider him a drunkard troublemaker. But also, he and his family lost a lot of things. Anderson asks if he's talking about honor, but he says that he's too old to understand exactly what he means. From what he has heard, the Hoxton Viscounty doesn't even have honor to lose anymore. Damien realizes there's no talking with this guy, and Anderson raises his cane, pointing it at him, saying that there's no way he thought he would just say sorry if he said that, and he should stop with his cheap play and pay for messing up his building. Damien laughs, saying that he was going to forgive him if he offered an apology, but if this is how he's playing, then so be it. He runs up, dashing off a table, soaring into the air. He rears back his sword, saying that he's going to make him pay for what he said, but someone else quickly runs off from the balcony, leaping up, swinging towards Damien, causing Damien to block it with his sword. As it's a blue energy, Damien recognizes it and lands on the ground. Anderson laughs, saying that Sir Ted made it just in time. Damien says it's quite surprising. He didn't think that someone like him would be hired for a place like this, and he wonders why a knight is in a place like this, as Ted glares down at him. We learn that knights walk the path of martial arts throughout their entire lives. Based on their skill level, they are assigned ranks, official knight being the highest, followed by apprentice knight, and then trainee. Official knights are those who are able to freely use aura. They can cut down mountains with a single strike, and slice through castle walls like paper. They are transcendent beings. Anderson begins laughing, saying that Ted here is an apprentice knight who is very close to the boss of Black Snake, and that he is as good as dead now. Damien says if it is only an apprentice knight, that explains the slight aura that he felt before. Ted just wonders how he sensed the aura when he did not materialize it. Damien says that he thinks he understands why such a person works in a place like this. It's because he got kicked out as an apprentice knight since he wasn't talented enough to become an official one. Ted holds back his anger, and Anderson asks how much it would cost for him to take care of him. The word apprentice is his trigger word, and he says that they'll talk about it later. He dashes off the ground, saying that he'll rip apart that mouth of his first. He swings down towards Damien, who backsteps the attack. Ted then readies himself for another one, and starts thrusting towards his head. Damien dodges them, saying that he's quite skilled for an apprentice knight. His movements are wide, but his attacks are really sharp. Ted comes in with more strength this time on his attack, which Damien sidesteps. He says that he's almost at his limit, and he can't get much further with his body, and he should focus on enhancing his stamina first. Ted says that there's no way he'll be able to dodge this one, as he starts charging up even more aura this time. Damien recognizes it, saying that this is a secret technique, as Ted thrusts forward, sending out shock waves of aura towards Damien's head. Damien closes his eyes, saying that he should use an appropriate technique to go against it. We hear a man asking who the hell Dorgo is, as he's cutting an old knight apart. He says if he were to kill all the humans, there wouldn't be any fun left in this world. This is the legendary killer, master of the Blade of Death, the Phantom Assassin. And he turns, telling Damien that this is why he needs to shut up and get out of here if he doesn't want to die. As he points his blade at him, Damien just stands there, and the Phantom Assassin says this means he doesn't understand, and that there's another one he needs to kill. He asks for death, so the Phantom Assassin will show the secret technique. To him, it's visible. The majority of the human body is made up of water, and once he reaches this level, he will understand what it's like to cut through a body like it's water. This is the secret technique called the Blade of Death, and even a wooden sword would do the same damage. And he should have just left while he was letting him. He then hears the sound of regeneration and turns, seeing his body reattach itself. The Phantom Assassin asks how, since he sliced him in half, saying there's no way, he can't believe he's an undead. Damien starts staring at him as the Phantom Assassin sweats nervously. Understanding that this is his own secret technique, Damien slices him in half with his bare hand, as if he was cutting through water. The Phantom Assassin laughs in the face of death, asking how he could use their secret technique. It overlaps with the present, as Ted is saying no. While bleeding out of his chest, he falls to the ground. Damien says it's always like this. All of his enemies couldn't believe what killed them. After he became a Death Knight, he obtained a great ability, which is the ability to absorb his enemies' abilities and skills, and make them his. Anderson screams and looks down in absolute horror. A little later, he looks out at the floor, nervously afraid to even look up, and starts bowing his head, saying that he's sorry for dishonoring the great Hoxton, and asks if all of this money will make up for what he has done. Damien looks over, saying he only wanted him to apologize, but he should take whatever he's offering. He says that it's not enough, but he'll let it slide. Then he tells Victor to get over and pick it up. Victor says yes sir, and says that he never would have believed it if he hadn't seen it for himself. Wondering when Damien learned such sword techniques. As they leave, Anderson and the two bouncers tell him to take care on his way back, and Victor says he's never seen this much money in his entire life. Anderson though says he'll make sure he gets it all back from him, and he'll talk to the boss of the Black Snake. Damien says he forgot something, as he swipes by Anderson's ear, cutting it off. He says that the money made him forget about the punishment, as he used the Blade of Death to cut it off, and he tells Anderson to warn the Black Snake, if he lays a hand on any of his family, he won't let him get away with it. Anderson cries, says he's gonna regret messing with him, and he watches Damien leave. But Damien says he's very well aware that doing this will not wash away his past sins, but in this new life he won't disappoint his family anymore, as it's time for him and Victor to head home. As the sun begins to set, we are taken to the Lion Bloom March, and we hear a man asking his brother if he's heard the phrase, pain always follows love. He asks what he's talking about, making that weird face in the mirror, and if he's going to battle somewhere. The man turns, saying no, he's gonna go find his love. What a freak. We jump back to the Hoxton estate, and Damien says it's been a while since he had such a good night's sleep. Victor says he's jealous, as he was so worried about what happened yesterday, he didn't sleep a single bit. Damien says everything worked out though, and sure, things went a little off from their original goal. More importantly, rumors will spread soon enough about how someone messed with the Hoxton family and got destroyed. When that happens, people won't take their family lightly anymore. Besides, the public perception of the good-for-nothing son might shift a bit too. Victor says he didn't know this before, but he's surprisingly self-aware, and while that's all good and dandy, what worries him is the Black Snake. He roughed up not only their members, but even their hired apprentice knight. Damien says no matter how bold they are, they wouldn't dare go after his family. Even if they do, he'll stop them, so he shouldn't worry about it. Victor says okay, and honestly, even from his perspective, his swordsmanship is far from ordinary, so he asks him where he even learned how to do it. Damien says he trained from time to time. We then hear Paul screaming his name as he's in a full sprint down the hallway, asking him where the hell he's been, and he's holding his patented love stick, which is his sword. He said surely he didn't cause trouble again. Damien tells him not to worry, as he told him that he would take care of what he caused, and he tells Victor to pull it out. Victor drops the bag of money onto the floor, and Paul and Marilda are blinded by how pretty it is. Victor also shows them the land deed. Damien says he went back to the tavern he was kicked out of and cleared up the misunderstanding. It turns out the math was wrong. The tavern owner gave him that as a token of apology. Paul asks if that's the truth and if he can believe him. Damien says of course, and Marilda says it has to be the truth. Otherwise, where would he get all of this? Damien says if he doesn't believe him, to ask Victor as he was there. He winks to Victor, asking him if what he's saying is the truth. Awkwardly, Victor says yes, and Damien asks if they believe him now. Paul is still suspicious, but Marilda says it has to be true. While Marilda starts saying how proud she is, Victor says that he's quite the compulsive liar it seems. Sometime later outside, we hear Damien panting as he is running. He takes a break by a tree, saying even though he hasn't moved much, he's already out of breath, and his body is so weak and slow. He has a lot to do, but he can't do much in this state. Still, thankfully, he managed to nab this little thing. We get a flashback to him holding it up. He asks what this is, and Anderson says that it's a tonic created by the Alchemy Academy to boost stamina and energy. Damien asks more about it, and Anderson says that the Alchemy Academy is a group that specializes in making tonics. Damien says he remembers now. Their tonics were said to be traded at the same value as gemstones, and he smiles, saying he sure is lucky. He chugs the elixir and lets out a sigh before he feels it overflowing from within his body. He breaks the glass, saying this shit hits different. If he wants to get stronger fast, he needs to build up his stamina first. He has to return to the level he was in his past life before Dorgo amasses his army. Because a few years from now, the undead that bastard created will appear in this world. Before that happens, he has to gain the strength to kill him. Only then will he be able to protect his family's happiness. He sighs and continues training, saying this time he will kill him before it ever starts. It jumps to a giant tower in the middle of a city. As we see, it's the Black Snake's hideout in the middle of land work. Some absolute pig says he's useless now, and he was the best man they hired too, which is a shame, as we see Ted dying on the floor. The boys ask him what to do, and if they should have him treated. The fat ass says to forget it and dump him, and this is the Black Snake's boss, named Cedric Walker. Funny his last name is Walker, when bro definitely can't walk. The men ask if that's okay, and Triple Chin says to just dump him somewhere, as he's no use to them anymore, and they can buy anyone if they pay enough. Ted groans, standing up, saying this is how it turns out. Cedric is surprised he still has the strength to stand, and says that if he gets treated, he'll hire him again maybe. Ted tightens the grip on his sword, and screams, saying he's tired of hearing him speak while charging forward. But his entire body comes to a halt, as something is grabbing onto his leg, as we see a purple aura. It grabs onto his arm, and Ted drops his sword, asking what the hell is going on. We hear a man asking if this can be the first target for their contract. Cedric says of course, and he wants to see what he can do. Ted yells, telling the guy to let go, as he starts rapping in the enchantment table. The aura continues to envelop Ted, but it's not just that, as it grows to the point that it summons these little demons, as well as a giant eye underneath him. One of them opens its mouth and starts drooling all over Ted, and its acid burns his shoulder. Ted begs for forgiveness, as they all start consuming him, ripping him apart, and he screams. All that's left is nothing but his leg as it falls to the floor. Cedric says that sure is disgusting, and the mage asks if he's satisfied. He says yeah, but next time he would prefer if it was cleaner. The mage asks what the next contract is. Cedric says that's why he actually called him. Someone harmed the organization, but he's a noble, so dealing with him directly is trickly. They just need to make sure he suffers in some way. The worse damage he deals, the higher his pay is. Nasty ass panel. He hands him his advance, and the mage thanks him, saying just to leave this to him. It jumps once more back to Damien, who is panting as he is going crazy doing squats. He drops his weight, saying that the tonic is really effective, and his strength has increased an incredible amount in the past few days. It's odd though, because nothing has happened at all, and he thought the black snake would have come for him. He then hears something behind and turns, saying it's just as he thought. He stretches his hands out towards the bushes, saying that it's definitely those black snake bastards. Then he grabs somebody by the throat, but then realizes who it is, as it is his brother Abel. Abel falls to the ground and holds his throat, saying that he's gotten quite strong in the time he hasn't seen him, and he thought he was going to snap his neck. Damien can't help but recall how he cut his head off in his past life and doesn't know what to say, and hesitates speaking to him, but quickly apologizes, saying that he didn't mean to. Abel looks anxious and shakes his head, saying he's not here for an apology. He says father told him that he got an apology out of the bar, but he heard that there was a fight, and many people were injured, and there's no way he did that, wondering if he's lying to the family. Damien says that it is true about the fight, and he did do that. His brother asks if he hired someone since he can't fight. Damien tells him that he was the one who did it, but his brother continues, telling him not to lie, as he can fool the others, but not him. He shouldn't do anything that looks bad on the family, wondering if he even knows how many things they've done to clean up his messes. Damien pats his head, saying that his brother was always diligent and wanted nothing but the best for the family. He laughs, telling him not to worry, as nothing bad will happen from now on. Victor then screams out for the young master, saying bad but doesn't finish his sentence until his little pork chop legs get there, and he tells him that it's bad news. They both turn, wondering what it is. We see them running down the hallways until they burst the door open, and Damien looks pissed. Paul looks over angry, as we see the guy who was in the mirror earlier sipping some tea. He sets it down, asking if he's finally here, as he was just telling the Viscount about the things that happened at the banquet hall last time, and he's sorry for coming out of the blue. He really couldn't do much since his father found out about it. Damien says he was wondering if he already did it or not, but it seems like he's already messed with the Lion Bloom family, and that this is Erwin, who begins to smile like a freak, asking if he remembers what happened that night. We get a flashback to Damien asking what he just said, and Erwin says he didn't mean anything by it and he apologizes if he took offense. Damien asks what he's talking about. Not only did it insult him, but he dishonored his sister, wondering what he meant by he didn't do anything. He says that he's quite drunk and he did no such thing, and then he whispers in his ear and asks him so what if he did, saying there's nothing he can do about it. He completely fell for his provocation when he shouldn't have, and he sent him flying, because in his blind fit of rage, he punched him. That's exactly what Erwin wanted to happen that night. Damien says the fact that someone close to becoming a knight got hit by him was odd, and what he wanted was none other than this. When Paul asks him what they should do about this, Erwin says it's embarrassing to say, but he's always admired Miss Louise. Paul asks what he's trying to say. Erwin tells him to allow it, as he wants to marry her, and he begins laughing. Everybody looks surprised to hear that he wants to force a marriage because of a punch. But Damien understands, saying that he did this in his last life too, taking advantage of the fact their house wasn't wealthy. Erwin says if they agree, they can make it a simple family problem, and then they can pretend that nothing ever happened at all. Paul tells him they can't do that, making Erwin pissed. Since she already has a fiancé. Erwin then asks about the insult he received, asking if their house can truly deal with his family's wrath, so they need to choose to pay the price for insulting him, or choose him to marry his daughter. Paul says that Lion Bloom is one of the most powerful noble families in the kingdom, but he can't let this lecherous bastard take his daughter. Louise enters the room, saying fine, and that she will accept this offer. Paul yells, asking what she means, saying she just needs to wait. Even Abel says there's no reason for them to fix what Damien did. Damien sees his sister shaking, and he says that because of her, she is once again about to walk down this path. Erwin smiles, saying this is what he wanted, and he stands up, grabbing his sword, telling Louise that she's wise and that he will soon send a formal request, and they will discuss the details then, but Damien stands directly in front of him. Louise asks if he has something to say and then calls him brother-in-law. Damien says that he ruined his sister's life once, and he won't allow it again. Louise is just surprised that he's standing up for her, and Damien starts mumbling. Erwin laughs, asking him to repeat it because he can't hear it, only for Damien to uppercut him, sending him flying through the air. He says that he shouldn't have fallen for it for the sake of his sister and his family, but in the end, he refuses to let people walk on him, and he tells him that he's not taking his sister from him. We get a flashback to his past life when he was eagerly running into the house, and the maids told him that Lady Louise and Erwin have arrived. It's the first time they've visited in a while. He was so excited to see his sister since it's been a while, and he opened the door, saying that he's missed her so much, only for his face to immediately fill with rage, as what he saw was Erwin abusing his sister because she whined so much about missing her home, and now we brought her here. And after her family sold her off, she dared try saying that she'll leave him. He throws her to the ground, saying that he's going to educate her properly so that she'll never be able to say that again, as he puts on a glove. He rears back his fist and starts beating the hell out of her like Chris Brown. Damien's face immediately filled with horror, and he fell to his knees, feeling nothing but guilt, saying that it's because of him that she was taken, and he vowed that he would never forgive Erwin for doing this to her. Back to the present, everybody in the family is in disbelief now that Erwin is laying on the ground. Erwin's guards quickly run in, asking what that sound was, only to see him laying on the ground. They draw their blades, asking Damien what he did. Erwin then laughs, sitting back up, asking if he dared hit his face not once but twice. He goes to unsheath his blade, making Paul and Marilda scared, and Erwin tells him that he must truly want to die, calling him brother-in-law once more. The guards immediately get in between the two of them, telling Erwin to calm down, as they will deal with it. He grits his teeth, yelling, telling them to get the hell out of his way. They say no, since for a rude bastard like him, they are enough. But Erwin raises his fist, hitting one of them into the nearby wall, shattering it, saying that he told them to move. Abel freezes up with fear, and so does Louise. As Erwin slowly walks forward, asking Damien how he plans to resolve this situation, Louise realizes that Erwin won't leave him alone, and she begs for him to stop, but Damien puts his hand out, telling her that it's fine, as he'll deal with it, as he's tired of her sacrificing herself for him, and he says that they'll duel. Erwin asks what he's talking about, and Damien says that if he wins a duel of swordsmanship, he'll do as he wishes. Instead, if he wins, he needs to forget everything that's happened until now. Erwin asks why he should, if there are no conditions that benefit him, and to his knowledge Louise has already approved. Damien asks why he's twisting things, and if he's that scared he'll lose to him. Erwin grits his teeth, saying that he's acting cocky because he hit him by catching him off guard. He's wondering how he should make him pay, but this is perfect, and he'll use this to cripple him and take his sister after, so he accepts the duel with a shit-eating grin on his face. They head outside as everybody is now present to watch. Marilda says they should stop them, but Paul says that seeing how Damien spoke so confidently, he must have something planned, and they can only hope for a miracle. But Abel says that they're wrong, and he should hope for a miracle because Erwin is apparently on the level of an official knight, and there's no way Damien will be able to defeat him. Erwin asks if he's ready to begin since he doesn't have his blade, but Damien says not to worry, as he pulls out a fork, saying this is more than enough to whoop his shit with. Erwin looks at it confused, and so do the family, as they wonder if he's lost his damn mind. Erwin finds it so funny that he starts laughing, saying that the fear must have got to him, and he charges in, saying that he won't go easy on him. With his blade low, he swings forward, but Damien dodges backwards. Erwin, surprised that he dodged, tightens the grip on his blade, saying even so, it won't change anything. He starts swinging wildly, as it is called the fierce roaring lion sword. As the attacks come in towards Damien, we see nothing but the shockwave it creates. After the dust from the attack settles, we see a bunch of marks on the ground just like lion's fangs, as Damien is completely unscathed. The escort guards wonder how he's fine and what's going on. Erwin understands and looks anxious, because in that short moment, Damien dodged every single one of the attacks with the minimum movement required. Damien says he must be taken aback, and it's due to his training over the last few days, but he's perfectly analyzed Erwin's family swordsmanship. And that is because he fought his older brother Michael before he regressed, and Michael was way stronger. Damien stands there confidently, making Erwin shake with anger. We see a little red tint as Damien looks up. As Erwin is releasing a red aura, saying that he must have been able to dodge until now, but he wants to see if he can dodge this. Damien says this is going to be difficult to dodge, and he wonders which attack to counter with. Erwin charges in and raises his sword high overhead. Damien readies himself, saying in this situation the sword saint technique will be good, as he counters with the fork, sending a shockwave as both of their auras are colliding. Abel and Louise are surprised. We see that Damien has actually stopped his blade by using the fork to hold it. Erwin tries to pull it out but can't, and Damien rotates his wrist, causing him to lose grip and throws it away, using the secret move called Countless Thunder Shadow Revelation. Abel starts to get cold sweats as Damien readies his fork, telling him goodbye, and stabs him directly in the throat. John Wick would be proud. Damien's entire family have their jaws dropped. The escort guards yell out for Erwin, but we see that Damien only stabbed him with a single prong. Erwin falls to the floor, screaming. Damien says killing him a dozen times over for what he's done wouldn't be enough, but he'll let it slide this once for the sake of his family. He says that they have a winner, saying surely he doesn't have a problem anymore. Erwin looks up in fear, and Damien says that he needs to do as he's promised, and get the hell out of here, forgetting what happened. And then sometime later they have the most awkward family breakfast of all time. Damien thanks him for the meal, saying that he's gonna head off to morning training. As he leaves, the entire family is still awkward as hell. And after they hear him gone, they start talking their shit. Marilda asks Paul if he's not gonna talk to Damien about what happened yesterday. Abel starts ranting, and Marilda says that he's also losing it, and Paul definitely needs to ask what happened, but Paul says to stop, and they don't need to press him for an answer, and he'll tell them when the time comes. Marilda's just surprised, and as Paul goes to eat, he says he's low-key curious as hell. But something tells him that he shouldn't ask him about it, and while he's his son, he's also really scary now for some reason. Damien starts putting on some sandbags around his ankles, saying it's time to head out. As he goes, Louise calls out to him. She says that she's glad he's still here, and then tries to talk about what happened yesterday. He can tell that she's anxious, and says that he needs to apologize to her. He bows, saying that he acted recklessly and put her in a difficult situation, as she's holding the love stick. He says that he should have apologized in advance, and he'll make sure that it never happens again. She tells him that's not it, and she puts her hands on his shoulders. She tells him to raise his head and thanks him for helping her. She was actually really scared. She did say that she would follow Erwin, but her heart was saying no way. Even though she was terrified, Damien stood up for her, and that she was sorry but glad at the same time. That's why she wanted to tell him this, and she thanks him once more, while crying and laughing. Damien's surprised, saying that it's him who should be saying, thank her. He's so grateful to have a sister like her. As he goes to leave, he says he'll be off, and she tells him to take it. He asks why, as that is their father's one and only favorite item. She says that he actually told her to give it to him and use it for his training. While their father's not good at expressing it, he loves him a lot, and he also told her to tell him that he's from a Vi county, so he needs to make sure he never uses a fork instead of a sword again. He says that he can actually see their father's face in that sentence. Damien unsheathes the love stick, and holds it up, thanking his father as well, saying that it's not bad. But it jumps to his father sneezing, as he's cleaning way more swords, wondering what that was just now. Later that night, outside of their estate, we see the Black Snake finally making their move. The guards are waiting outside, and one of them is falling asleep, while the other tells him to stop yawning. The magician's aura starts to wrap around his legs, until it completely engulfs him, and the other guy puts them to sleep. He then opens the gates and heads further inside, as it is time for him to fulfill his contract for Triple Chin. He sneaks into one of the rooms, and opens the doors to each and every one of them. We see Abel sleeping, as well as Marilda and Paul, until he gets to another room and he opens it, seeing Louise. He starts to approach her, and licks his lips, saying that she is one hell of a beauty. He's here for the request, but he got unexpectedly lucky, and he might as well make use of her before killing her brother. He then hears Damien, and freezes, as Damien is leaning against the door frame, asking him what the hell he thinks he's doing, while glaring at him. Damien says he came because he sensed a strange energy, and it looks like someone suspicious is here. The mage says that his magic should have put everybody to sleep, wondering why he was not affected. He didn't even detect his presence until he came this close. Realizing he's a threat, he immediately starts channeling an attack and shoots out the beam that killed Goku from early DBZ. Damien dodges to the side as the mage asks him who the hell he is. Damien says that's his question, as this is his house. The mage asks if he could be Damien, to which he says yes, and now he wants to know who he is and what he just tried doing to his sister. Some guards ask what all that sound is, saying that it came from young lady Louise's room. The mage realizes the servants were awakened by the sound of an explosion. He says it would be bad for him if there were too many people here, and it can't be helped, as he starts to disappear into his aura and out the window. Damien tells him to stop as he watches him fade down into it and escape down the wall into some nearby bushes. Damien asks if he got away, and then notices something, as the energy on the wall is oddly familiar. The next day, some of the servants say this is bad and wonder what they are going to do, as the prized horse is dead, and they don't know how they are going to explain this to the Viscount since he will be furious, and that it's a disaster because he was fine just yesterday. They don't know what to do, and they are all frustrated. Damien says he did have a bad feeling, and they all look surprised. They try to explain it to him, and he tells them to stop panicking, as he is just here to confirm something, and nobody will be held responsible. They just need to leave him in the room for a little bit. He puts his hand on the horse, saying that the trail of energy he lost last night led him to the stables where a horse is dead, and there is no doubt about it. This eerie energy is definitely dark mana, which means that guy is a dark mage, and it seems like his family isn't aware of it yet, but there is no need to worry them by telling them either. He starts to sense the trail of where it escaped to, saying it fled over into a nearby forest. As we see, he went into a cave, and the dude is in there laughing like a freak, saying that the boss of Black Snake sure is stupid, and he really gathered everything he asked for. He told him it was for a curse, but it was a lie. With all these materials, he won't be running short on his experiments anytime soon. He says he really has fallen, to think he is taking on low-tier requests just to earn some pocket change. But considering the church is right on his ass, he had no choice, and he needs to lay low for the time being. Damien steps in, saying that this place reeks. The guy turns, and Damien says this is why old men should not live cooped up by themselves, and he should crack a window. The dark mage instantly recognizes him as Damien from yesterday, and asks how he found this place. Damien tells him that he followed the stench he left behind. The mage is surprised, saying even though he heard rumors about him foolishly going up against the Black Snake, he must not be as reckless as they thought. Damien says it's a good thing he stayed on alert, as he must be the one hired by them. He says yes, as they want him to inflict as much harm on his family as possible. Damien laughs, saying that's pathetic. He took on that kind of job, and now he's about to die for it. The mage asks what he's talking about, and then laughs, saying he sure is amusing. Because if he captures and tortures him, he'll make a fine pet and keep him entertained. Damien grabs his blade, saying that won't be happening. As he promised himself that in this life, he wouldn't kill anyone unless he really had to, but there is one exception, and that is filthy dark mages like him. As we see the reflection of him and Dorgo within his blade, the mage is surprised that he knows he's a dark mage, saying that he's no ordinary brat. If he escapes, he's the one who'll get in trouble. As he creates magical circles that shit out the beam from yesterday, he tells him just to die. Damien dodges in between them with his sword dragging behind. The mage realizes he's quick, as Damien swings up, slicing him in half. As he starts to look up towards the ceiling, we see his eyes lock back in, as a purple aura starts to reassemble his cut in half body. Damien says this is the same ability he saw back at the mansion, and he's pretty strong for someone who takes on garbage jobs. The mage says that attack won't do anything to someone of his caliber, and Damien swings again, saying that he'll just cut him down until there's nothing left of him. As he starts reassembling once more, Damien thrusts forward the rapid barrage. The mage says it's not bad, and it seems like his name's been floating around for a reason. But still, the moment he walked in here of his own will, he was already dead. As he starts to summon the little ghouls that killed Ted, they begin flying towards him to eat him. The mage says that he casts spells all over this place to counter the church's pursuit. Damien says this might actually be dangerous, as the mage laughs, saying that he's going to regret crossing a Yu'lon officer. As the monsters start to swirl down towards Damien, he says that his whole body will now rot and die. As the aura starts to completely wrap around Damien, now making some kind of messed up cocoon, the mage laughs, saying that he's arrogant, and he ended his own life. And this probably counts as meeting the requirement of the contract. He says now that there's no one to interrupt him, it's time to go after that beautiful girl he saw last night. Damien says that he's surprised to see a decomposing type curse. The mage turns, filled with horror, asking how the hell he's unaffected. As Damien rips it apart with his bare hands, the mage wonders how he knows so much about dark magic. Damien says that he won't tell him, and Damien can tell he's freaked out, but low-key, he is too. Because how is there still authority left in him? And it turns out that this is something Dorgo gave him in his past life, and it is known as the power of God. As he had gathered it in a vase, he turned, as Damien bowed down, greeting him. He says that he gave him the strongest body, and infused the strongest magic into him. However, he's still not satisfied. He must become the strongest sword evil that he possesses. Therefore, he cut his own hand. He says that he shall give him the power in order to turn him into the ultimate weapon. And he began pouring it out of the vase, so much so that it created a massive beam. Dorgo tells him to accept it into his body. As he slams his hands together, it starts wrapping around Damien, creating a vortex. And Dorgo says that it's an incredible amount that his vessel can hold, as it starts pouring all the way through his body, going to each and every nerve and muscle fiber. Damien let out a primal scream. As his body had gained the power of authority, it was so bright that it blinded Dorgo, and he says that he had finally obtained it. As while he had it, he couldn't use it, but now it's within a body he has control of, meaning he has truly got the authority of God on his side. Damien says without a doubt, this is the authority of greed, and it is the power he had when he was a Death Knight. He thought he lost it when he regressed, but here it is. Another attack flies in straight towards him, which he easily dodges by flipping over it. The mage tells him to answer, asking how he survived his spell. Damien says that everybody has a hidden trump card or two. Turns out it's just plot armor, and even the author understands this. What a goat. Damien says that he also just mentioned he was an officer of Yu'lon, and he's heard of Yu'lon before. They are an organization that specializes in assassination using dark magic, so no wonder he was so skilled. But something feels off about him, and the longer this drags on, the worse it'll get, because he's mumbling about a trump card. He says that he meant to save it for when he faces the church, but it looks like he needs to use it now. As his bracelet begins glowing, we see a green shimmer to it as he begins releasing a powerful aura. From behind him, he starts to get some black tattoo marks on his hands that even cover his face, and pretty much his entire body. Damien says that's a ton of dark mana, and that this bracelet must be an artifact that stores and conceals it. As a giant demon is now formed overhead, the mage tells him that no matter how he managed to disrupt his spell, he surely cannot handle this power. As he stretches his hand out, telling him to burn and die in the hellfire, as it flies towards him to eat him. We see it lands directly where Damien was, and the flames begin to engulf the entire area. The mage says that it's over, since he has been struck with a fire that burns eternally, even in death. Damien though speaks up, saying that he gravely misunderstood something. The authority of greed does not dispel magic. As it begins fueling him, he starts to control the aura. He says that it actually absorbs all dark mana completely. The mage asks how somebody like him has such a terrifying power like an authority. Damien tells him that's none of his business, and he should just think of him as having better gear, as he rears back his sword. It pisses him off that he has to use the power given to him by the one he hates the most. However, to take down the guy standing in front of him, he has no choice but to use his Death Knight techniques. The mage also sees the sword aura, saying that this is something only a sword master can do, and he starts telling him to wait. But Damien tightens the grip on his blade, readying himself as he shoots out the aura forward. And it is the soul-severing slash that he used to actually defeat Dorgo in his past life. It flies directly towards the mage's head and cuts directly across his torso, ripping up space-time itself. But it's not just space-time, as the actual cave begins to collapse as well, sending rubble flying everywhere, while Damien sits there, aura farming. Now that side of the cave is completely collapsed, we see the maids buried underneath it. Damien says that he wants him to tell him before he dies, as he'll lessen the pain, and he asks where the black snake's hideout is, while pointing the blade directly at him. Back to land work, which I'm surprised he couldn't tell where it was, based on the giant-ass tower. Victor asks what he's doing, and why he's trying to go back to land work. Is he holding the Necronomicon? But Damien says that if he's going to follow him, he should do it quietly. Victor says that his face looks refreshed, but the book he's reading is ominous, and wonders what he's so focused on. Damien closes it, saying that it's a dark magic grimoire he obtained recently after killing a dark mage. Victor thinks he's joking around, saying that he knows that it's obviously a joke, and dark magic grimoires are so dangerous and difficult to obtain, but he wonders what that smell is, saying since earlier, he could smell something nasty. The carriage then comes to a stop. Damien heads off the carriage, holding a sack in his hand. Turns out that smell was probably him carrying the mage's head. He tells Victor he needs him to do something for him, and gives him the bag. Victor asks what it is, and Damien says it's somebody's head. Victor says that he told him to stop messing around with the jokes, as he's tired of them, but when he opens it, he sees his own reflection in the mage's eyeballs, and starts screaming and he throws it. Damien manages to catch it, and Victor begins panicking. Damien tells him to calm down since people are watching, and Victor wants him to explain what's going on, but Damien says he'll do it later, as he has to go do something else, and he must deliver these things to the place he tells him. Only that, because if he does, it will lead to no trouble. Victor begins to get overwhelmed, as Damien heads straight to the headquarters. He gets in front of the door, saying that it sure is crazy to see gangsters having their headquarters in the middle of a city. The doorman asks who he is, and Damien introduces himself with his full government ID. They say that his last name sounds like a pig's, and wonder why he's giving his full name. Then they realize that this is the guy the boss was talking about. Damien says if they know who he is, to move, as he has business with their boss. They tell him to go ahead. Damien is surprised they don't even want a reason. Baldy, number 1, reaches into his vest and pulls out a gun, and fires it into the air, as it is a flare. Damien looks up, and they ask if he really thought they would just let him in like that. Damien asks what they did, and as he starts to get surrounded, they say what else. This is a welcome present the boss had prepared for him, knowing he would make his way here at some point. Damien smiles, then tells them they're going to regret it, as he reaches to his side. It jumps to a man drinking, saying that, thanks to Cedric, he's truly enjoying today, as this is the governor of the city named Sebastian Baker. The Knight of Land Work is also there, who is named Robert, saying that he wants another cup. Cedric laughs, saying that the two of them enjoying this is an honor for him. Sebastian says that he's having a great time, and Cedric says that he'd be grateful if they came whenever they wanted. Sebastian tells Cedric that he wants the Black Snake to take over all of the local businesses. Cedric looks surprised, and he says that the red light district can be completely controlled by the Black Snake. Cedric says he's happy with it, but won't the others protest? Sebastian says that he can easily suppress them with his authority. Robert says that there's something he wishes he could do for him too, and Cedric says him protecting the city is enough. It's not easy to maintain the security of a big city like Land Work, and he knew they were modest, but there's no need for them to lower themselves this much. Robert laughs, asking if that's really the case. Both he and Sebastian say that if he needs anything, they'll do it to the best of their ability. Cedric thanks them and smiles, saying that he doesn't have to bow his head to these pieces of shit much longer. As soon as he will control this entire city, they will be the ones bowing down to him, again with this nasty ass panel. The door gets slammed open as one of his men is calling out to him. Cedric asks what it is, as they have guests. He says that he has something to tell him. Cedric heads outside, asking what's so important. The guy starts whispering sweet nothings into his ear, as Cedric yells out Damien's name. He wonders what the hell the dark mage is up to, and he's glad he told his subordinates in advance. He tells the guy to go, and the dude wonders if it's really okay to just leave him. Cedric asks why he's worried, as he came to die on his own 2 feet. Back to Damien, we see that he's got a raging drug addiction, as he's chugging tonic after tonic. After the last one, he throws it into the air, and smashes it with his foot, before charging forward into the group, chopping them into bits, sending pieces of them flying through the air. Cedric's words echo, saying things will go to plan. And even if it doesn't, there are people within the city who owe him a favor, as we see an ominous group heading straight towards their tower. It jumps to some time later, as Cedric looks worried, saying that he came out because he had a bad feeling. As he's looking down the tower over the balcony, he sees all this man in pieces laying on the floor, and he wonders how this happened, and if that kid really did all of this by himself. He asks his men if that's really Damien, and he says that that's how he introduced himself. Cedric says that the rumors say he's a good-for-nothing, and he didn't know he was this skilled, and he starts to have a bad feeling that maybe the dark mage he sent was already taken out as well. He says this won't do, and he needs to get help, as he heads back inside. Back to Damien, he's looking at somebody pointing a staff at him, and he asks if that is made for magic. On the rooftop, the guy's holding a staff, saying that he wants to see him block this, as it starts to conjure up a fireball at the tip of it. It launches forward directly towards him. Damien readies himself by thrusting forward, and they call him an idiot, asking if he intends to stop the flames with his blade. Damien starts to actually control the fire with the blade, unlike what they expected, as it is the Countless Thunder's Shadow Revelation once more, and he hits them with a straight-up Uno reverse, throwing the fireball back towards them. The guy realizes that he messed up, as they eat the giant explosion, killing all 3 of them instantly. Damien says he's about done here, and it's time for him to confirm who the boss is so he can leave. But as he says this, somebody comes in for a punch, which he dodges, and we see it's none other than Robert, who smashes the ground. Damien distances himself, and Damien says that his aura is so thick it's prickling his skin. Robert says he was wondering what kind of bastard stirred up all this trouble. It looks like it was some young, overconfident brat, and Damien can tell, though, that what he is facing off against now is none other than an official knight. Tons of civilians are also watching, as Damien gets surrounded by soldiers who are meant to maintain the public order in the city. He realizes as well what this means, as Sebastian yells, asking how he can cause chaos in the middle of the city, and that he, the governor, will see to it that he is punished. Damien asks why he's trying to punish him, and Sebastian asks if he's crazy, saying surely he realizes what he's done here. Not only did he attempt to go for Boss Cedric's life, but he is a kind businessman. He attacked his company and slaughtered dozens of innocent people. Some civilians wonder when this fat piggy bastard was ever considered a businessman, saying that's ridiculous. But Cedric is eating it up, saying no matter how ruthless Damien may be, he can't lay a hand on someone under the governor's protection. Damien, though, says that he finally found him, and he wants to get it started with a solid punch. He had a hunch that they might have connections with the city administration, but this is practically worship-level loyalty. He calls Sebastian hilarious, saying that there's no way he's a businessman, and his judgment is awful. Sebastian says that if he begs for forgiveness now, he might reduce his sentence. Damien says he has nothing to beg for, because he never committed a crime. Sebastian, getting pissed, telling Robert to go ahead and go rock his shit, because he's tired of this. Robert slowly walks forward while reaching for his axe. He draws it, introducing himself as the guardian knight of the city, telling him to drop his weapon and submit to arrest. Damien starts laughing, and Robert says he sure is strange, and despite him being in front of him, there's no trace of fear in his eyes, asking if he's bold or stupid. Damien tells him that he's confident. Robert laughs, saying that it turns out he's just a fool, as he dashes forward with an overhead attack, shattering the floor beneath Damien. Damien says even though he said that, the truth is, fighting him at his current level won't be easy, and he just needs to hold out until the right time arrives. He barely, just in time, puts his guard up to block a punch from Robert that sends him flying backwards. While he's flying, he does a somersault and catches himself, and he says that he tried to deflect it, but he couldn't, and now his shit hurts. He wonders if she's not here yet, as he turns behind, and Robert dashes forward, asking where he's looking. Damien turns, looking at his axe, saying that he's fast, and we see a member of that group come forward, knocking Robert's axe backwards, as it flies out of his hands and lands on the ground behind him. Everybody there is surprised by what just happened. Robert asks them to identify themselves, saying that he can't believe Damien had an associate. The woman starts to unveil her robe, and we get a good look at her, as she begins to release a slight blue aura. People recognize what she is, as she is a paladin. We then hear Victor and Damien ask why he's so late. Victor runs forward, saying that he's finally arrived, and he looks so excited for having done his mission. Cedric says that if a paladin is here, it means the church is involved. He wonders if they know that he made a deal with a dark mage. Victor asks Damien if he's alright, and he says no, as he waited too damn long for him. He's just happy to see a paladin and tells Victor that he's also glad he did his job too. Victor says of course, as he can handle his orders if nothing else. We get a flashback to a few hours ago at the church, when Victor opened the door. We see the woman praying as she turns around, and he asks if this is a branch of the Holy Church. She says yes, asking what it is, and he says that his Lord asked him to get this to the church as quickly as possible. Something about this being evidence of someone working with a dark mage. She looks surprised and asks if he can hand it over. He does, and she says the energy is definitely dark magic, and this symbol is something she recognizes. She yoinks the bag out of Victor's hands and starts to pull out the dark mage's head and holds it up, which makes Victor scared. She says that she's finally found him. This is one of the leaders of Yulan, named Agito. She then rips off her nun outfit, asking where the person who gave him this is. Back to the present, she's blushing, asking if he's Damien Hoxon. Victor says there's no way this is the same person. She tells him she received the evidence, and the church will handle things now. Damien says he's glad, and he won't get in the way of the Holy Church, and she should do as she pleases. She bows, thanking him. Damien says it's a relief things are going as expected. The Holy Church, just as their names suggest, live their lives as servants of God. They are endlessly merciful and charitable to common folk, but when it comes to the matter of dealing with heretics and demons, they won't hesitate to light their own souls on fire. They are nothing but a bunch of fanatics, and the vanguards of the church are the paladins, and they are on his side right now. The paladin tells all the soldiers and citizens to listen, as the church has received a report about someone who made contact with a wanted dark mage, and the civilians wonder who the hell would do something like that. She continues, saying that while they dig up those involved, the church will be in charge of the city. Sebastian asks what she is talking about, as he is the governor, and the kingdom gave him the right to control this land. The paladin reminds him that rooting out heretics is the will of God, and the authority of the church overrules the authority of the kingdom. He says he will protest this, and she tells him regardless if he does or not, he and his knight are the prime suspects. Sebastian freezes up, asking what she is talking about, and why they would work with a dark mage. She points towards Lard S, saying that he is the one who supported the dark mage and hired him. Just protecting such a man is suspicious enough. Sebastian, furious, asks Cedric if it's true. He says no, and that's outrageous. The paladin says they have evidence, and he can't deny it. This notebook are records of him buying what items and where for the dark mage, and they have every single item logged. He starts tweaking, wondering why he would even write that down, and tells them it's a misunderstanding, and he has nothing to do with the dark mage. She says they will figure it out during the investigation, and orders her men to take them away. As Sebastian, Robert, and Cedric are hauled off, Sebastian looks over at Damien who is smiling, and he can tell that he planned this all along. Sebastian says he refuses to be taken in like this, as he doesn't know what they will do to him. Cedric asks Robert if he is really surrendering, as they are trying to frame him. He continues yelling out to Robert, as he walks by his axe. He stops for a second, and thinks about it, and says that being taken away is certain death. As he breaks free from his two guards, he makes a mad dash for his axe. He grabs onto it, and charges at the paladin, saying that he is going to kill her, and then escape. Cedric starts smiling, and Sebastian just looks surprised, and Damien says that he is making a mistake. As the paladin easily sidesteps his attack, she rears back her fist, charging in, calling him foolish, and Robert also knows that he done goofed, as she punches a hole straight through his chest, all the way out the other side. Cedric looks surprised, and Damien smiles. The paladin says that those who disobey the will of God, whoever it may be, as she pulls out her fist from his chest, sending blood flying. His corpse falls to the floor. She tells them that they will all be punished by God. Cedric, now on his knees, starts bowing, and Sebastian calls him insolent. Victor and Damien start flaming him. Victor says that, unlike the rumors of him being some great guy, turns out the boss of the Black Snake is some fat ass just like him. Those are his words, not me throwing shade. But Cedric says he can't believe that a brat left him in a state like this. And then Damien says that he did guess it, but the paladin is stronger than he thought, and that based on the state of her sacred power, she's probably the apprentice of the Azure Flame. The Azure Flame Brigandine is one of the strongest people in the church, and one of the 5 great saints. He's known for taking down numerous powerful heretics as well. The paladin then approaches him, saying that it's hard to express just how thankful she is for his work in taking down an officer of Yulan. He says he simply did what anyone would do, and she says for this matter, they'll acknowledge his contribution and not charge him with anything. He tells her he's not sure what she means, and she says that she thought he summoned the church to cover up his attack on the Black Snake. He says she's actually hella sharp, and bows, apologizing if he offended her. He says not only did that dark mage curse their territory, but even tried to harm his family. She looks like she can relate to it, and thinks about it for a second, saying that she can no longer hold him accountable. She also tells him that the bounty on Agito's head will be paid as soon as possible. He says he didn't expect a bounty, asking how much it was. She says it's 1,000 gold. Victor starts going crazy, and Damien says that he wants to request something else from the church, asking if he could sub it out for the bounty. Victor's going to kill him in his sleep. She says it's possible, asking what he wants, and he tells her that he wants to learn one of the mana cultivation techniques held by the church. She says that if he's strong enough to annihilate the Black Snake by himself, he shouldn't need a mana cultivation technique. He nods his head, saying after fighting the Dark Mage, he realized back then he was lucky to win with a power of authority, but to defeat even greater enemies in the future, like the Demon Kings, and even Dorgo, for him to reach the levels of them, he'll absolutely need the mana training techniques used by knights. One that's way more advanced compared to what he's learned. He says that he's only learned basic level techniques, and he's asking for this so he can master more advanced ones. She's just surprised he reached this level off basic techniques, and she says that she can sense considerable aura flowing within his body. If what he's saying is true, that means his talent is extraordinary. He also has the resolve to cut down a heretic, and she starts to get the idea, saying that there may be a better alternative, asking if he's interested. He asks her what it is, and she wonders if he's interested in becoming a paladin at all. Victor looks surprised, but Damien's making a hell no face, and he shuts her down instantly, saying nah. She starts to ask why not, and sounds depressed, saying that becoming a paladin is the greatest honor bestowed by God, allowing one to punish evil in his name. Victor gets scared, and she continues asking if he knows how hard it is to obtain the position. Damien, though, doesn't hold any religious faith, and more than anything, he has no interest in living as a dog for the church. And he can't just say that, so he wants to make up an excuse. He clears his throat, saying that he's not yet worthy of receiving the love of God. Victor wonders what he's talking about, and Damien continues playing it off, saying that for now, he only wishes to travel the world and follow in the choices of the divine as a humble devotee. Victor says there's no way a blatant lie will work, but the paladin's completely fallen for it, and she says that her ears feel open anew, and Victor can't believe she's eating it up. She says as requested, they'll provide a mana cultivation technique instead of the bounty, but if he ever changes his mind to come to the church, she will welcome him. There's one more thing she would like to ask. He says okay, and pulls his hand away. She says she hasn't introduced herself yet, and she does, saying that her name is Agnes, and she is the apprentice of the Azure Flame. He says he knew it, and that it's an honor to meet her. He then asks if he can finish his business here, and she tells him to do as he pleases, wondering what he's talking about. It jumps to Damien, who approaches Cedric, and Cedric starts cursing at him, saying that if he's going to go down, he'll take him with, but Damien kicks him in the stomach, causing him to spit up. Damien says that his belly's so fat it's like punching a cushion, and then he kicks Cedric in the face, sending him flying backwards, knocking a tooth out. He starts stomping Cedric while they watch, and then he sighs, saying that he feels a lot more satisfied now, and it sure is relieving taking stress out on others. Victor wonders if it's really all over, and Damien smiles, saying yeah, probably at least. But back to the Lion Bloom family, the Marquis opens the door, calling out for Erwin, and this is his father named Holland. He sees his son shivering in the bed, and Erwin looks surprised to see him. His father quickly runs over, asking what happened, as Erwin tells him that he tried to kill him, and that he held a fork to his throat. His tearful child is trembling like this, and he asks everybody else to explain the situation, and who did this. The guard asks if he can speak, and he says yes, and he tells them that it was none other than Damien of House Hoxton. Instantly, vases begin flying as he's in a fit of rage, and he asks if a lowly Hoxton dared to lay a hand on his son, and then he must have used some cowardly trick, and then he needs to send people there at once, and drag him here like the dog he is. It jumps to the Hoxton estate, and Agnes is introducing herself as a paladin to the family. Paul and Marilda welcome her, and Paul says that not only did Damien cause trouble behind his back, but now he's even brought a fanatic into his house. He tells her that Damien already informed him that she'd be staying for a while. She says that it was a decision made to investigate the heretic, but Paul tells her that the house is too small, so he doesn't know if they can offer a proper room. She pulls out a bag of gold as a token of gratitude, causing him to instantly fold. He tells her to make herself at home. Agnes approaches Damien, thanking him once more for allowing them to investigate the incident, but he low-key didn't expect her to come to his house, though she did say she had another request. She says although the investigation is important, she wants to ask something else. He asks what it is about, and she says that it's about him. She's pretty much just trying to spread the gospel, but Paul and Marilda freeze up, and misunderstand, assuming she's trying to get to know him romantically. Damien says it's not that. She hands him the mana cultivation techniques he requested, asking if it says that these are specifically selected volumes. He asks why she's giving 2 books. She says one is a sword technique manual, as it wouldn't feel right to give him a cultivation one without a matching sword technique, but he doesn't particularly need them, but there's a lot of harm in having it. He now has the destructive sword technique and the destructive energy technique. These are sword and energy manuals that he's never seen before in his past life. She tells him that acquiring them was pretty difficult, and he says that he understands, telling her she has his gratitude. She says that getting them definitely wasn't easy, especially since there was a lot of opposition from within the church. He says that she went through a lot, and she continues, saying that when she told her master about him, he said that he's one of the chosen ones the church needs, and that they had to rely on his authority. She then asks him once more if he would please consider becoming a paladin. As she grabs onto his hands, he pulls them away from her and apologizes. She says she understands, and any more of this and she would be discourteous. However, if he changes his mind, to come find her. As she walks away, he says it's just as he thought. Her obsession is quite something. Back in the cave, where Agito was hiding out, some of the church workers are inside investigating it, and they say this is really suspicious. The other dude asks what he means, and he says to think about it. Agito is a high-ranking member of Yulon who has evaded the church's pursuit multiple times. Sure, he is part of the curse school, which means he's weaker in direct combat, but even so, it doesn't make sense that a powerful dark mage like Agito would die to the hands of some rural noble. The other dude says he actually has some similar doubts, but Agnes has not said a word about it. They then wonder if they should raise it to her as a concern, and the dude says they need to focus on their work instead. But Agnes enters, saying they can trust Damien. They freeze up, and she says she understands they have doubts, but he did not lie. They just genuinely can't understand how he managed to kill Agito. She says they already know how he did it, and they both look at each other confused. She says Damien already told them that he just dodged and cut off his head. They're confused, asking if she's really buying that. She says that day, when his servant brought the head, even she doubted his skills, so she stayed back and observed instead of intervening directly. He fought dozens of men without sustaining a single scratch, and completely overwhelmed them, when the most shocking part was when he countered their fireball by using his sword to deflect it back at them, and that it was a magic spell. They say they didn't even think that was possible, and she says that it is. She heard that those who reach the level of swordsmaster can block attacks of all kinds, magic included. They wonder if she's saying he's a swordsmaster. She says no, but he is definitely extraordinary. The main reason for them coming here was to pursue Stark, but she also wanted to take Damien with them to meet her master, as he could become a great asset to the church, so they need to set aside their doubts and focus earnestly on the investigation. They both nod, saying they understand. We see some horses arriving at the estate, as there's none other than the Lion Bloom family. One of the apprentice knights, named Ulpis, yawns, saying that it looks like they're finally here. Another apprentice knight, named Lavender, asks them what the hell that smell is, because it's awful. Ulpis tells them that's the smell of cow shit. The man in the front tells them both to stop talking, causing them to freeze up. This is the official knight of the family named Garrick. He asks if that's the Hoxton estate, and they say it's gotta be. He wonders what the mission the Marquis gave them was. Ulpis says they need to arrest Damien. Garrick says catching that trash will be easy, but that alone will be enough to make up for the humiliation they suffered. He then notices something, as there's an old man with a cane walking past them, and as he struggles, Garrick calls out to him. The man turns, asking who they are. Garrick asks if he's a resident of the estate, and the old man says that he is. Garrick cuts off his head with one strike, sending it rolling, and he sheathes his blade, asking how dare a mere resident not bow after seeing House Lion Bloom's crest. As that is a grave offense. Both of the apprentice knights say that the dude looked blind. Then Garrick calls out to them, saying that he has a great idea. When they arrive at the estate, they'll drag out that bastard Damien, and then slaughter every single person in their sight in order to do so. As they start leaving the cave, Agnes's associates say that because the site collapsed, they weren't able to gather as much as they expected. She says it's fine, they did good, but one of the guys looks over, telling them to check that shit out, as the rest look over as well. We see Damien meditating, as the energy around him is swirling violently. Every single time he takes a breath, the energy moves towards him, and then he'll breathe out, clearly manipulating the energy. They have no idea what they're looking at, and even Agnes asks what the hell's going on. She said that the destructive energy technique she gave to him should be a cultivation method that, once mastered to an extreme level, allows him to absorb surrounding mana. But he was able to do that in just a few hours. Damien exhales and opens his eyes, seeing them all looking super excited. He asks if they finished their investigation, and she runs over, saying yes. Then it seems that he's made some progress. He tells her it was just a little bit, and she really wasn't exaggerating when she said it was hard to obtain. He was a swords master in his past life, so sword techniques hold no meaning for him, but the cultivation method was extremely useful. The destructive energy technique was created to compensate for the heavy mana consumption of the sword technique. Thanks to that, it gathers mana faster than other techniques, and it can temporarily draw in external mana. She starts blushing while staring at him, and Damien says it's time for dinner, and they should hurry because it's being prepared. He then senses killing intent, saying that they have some unwanted guests, and that he needs to head off first, and that Agnes should go back at her own pace, and he starts hauling absolute cheeks. They say that boy fast as hell, and she still is blushing. She says that for him to move that quickly with such a small amount of mana, meaning he must be controlling it with extreme precision, and she wonders just how far his limits truly go. Back at the estate, a punch comes in as Ulpis hits Victor straight in the gut, causing him to throw up all over the floor, and it's blood. They start stomping on him, asking if he really dares to fight them, as they said to bring Damien here now. Victor says no, since they're trying to hurt him, and one of the maids tells Paul about the situation, and he runs over, yelling, telling them to stop at once. They understand that he's the Viscount, and he holds up Victor, asking if he's alright, wondering what the meaning of this is and how a knight can assault a civilian. Garrick says compared to what their estate did to their house, this is nothing, and that the Marquis demands Damien. If he hands him over quietly, their land won't suffer. Paul says he expected some retaliation, but this is to the level of barbarianism, but he can tell it's a lie. If he hands his son over, he's gonna turn this place into a sea of fire. He grits his teeth, saying that he'll never, ever hand his son over. Garrick asks if he's sure he won't regret that decision. Paul says of course, standing on business, and Garrick says that leaves him no choice, and tells Lavender and Ulpis that until that bastard comes out, to destroy everything. They draw their weapons, and Damien asks if they've lost their damn minds. Paul turns, surprised, as he's releasing an insane amount of killing intent while walking towards them. Bro is straight up a aura farming. Garrick turns, wondering when he got here. Alpus asks him who the hell he is, but more importantly, he starts to feel an incredible pressure and wonders what's going on, because he can't move. It's not just him, but neither can Lavender either. He walks over, asking Paul if he's okay, and he says that he is, but Victor isn't. Victor looks like shit. Damien says they need to understand how lucky they are. If Victor hadn't been born with a sturdy body, he would have died from that beating, and if he had, he would have killed all three of them right here. Garrick says that he must be Damien, who he thought had some guts to defy the Marquis, but it turns out he's just a madman, or maybe he's feeling cocky because he beat some noble using a petty trick. Damien asks what he means by a petty trick, and Garrick tells his men to stop wondering why they're waiting, and they need to crush that bastard's legs and make him kneel. They charge forward, and Damien says that he's tired of this shit. He grabs onto Alpus's arm and starts breaking his wrists, saying that he's been meaning to try out the mana he collected using the destructive energy technique. He pulls Alpus towards him, and then hits him straight in the chest with a punch, and he says it's convenient that some target dummies showed up on their own. As Alpus gets sent flying, Lavender calls out to him, only for Damien to run forward before he can even react. His teeth get sent flying just as he does, and Damien says he's gonna use this to his heart's content. Garrick is surprised, and Victor slowly opens his eyes. Damien asks if he's alright. As Victor stretches his hand out towards him, he gives him a thumbs up sign. Damien's a little caught off guard and smiles, saying that he sure is an interesting guy, he's glad he's so fat and sturdy. Garrick then walks forward, asking if he really didn't beat Irwin using cheap tricks, but he still doesn't understand how a good-for-nothing can have such skills. Damien says there's no need for him to know, and Garrick starts to get an idea, saying that he understands it now, and all the puzzle pieces fit, and that this means only one thing, and that he is not Damien Hoxon. Paul is confused, and so is Victor, and Damien asks what he's talking about. Garrick yells, telling him to not lie, as surely he would know that this is a trap set by the field dogs to stop the lion blooms, and that he is not the real Damien, and he is an imposter who is hired to defeat Irwin and lower the good name of their house, and that he'll make them regret messing with the family, as he reaches for his blade. Damien says he can't believe how stupid this guy is, as Garrick readies himself for an attack. On the ground, we see a finger twitching, as it's Lavender, saying that he's just going to pretend to stay knocked out. Paul and Victor start watching from the side, as Garrick's still tightening the grip on his sword. He slowly inches forward, and Garrick says while he seems skilled, his luck has run out, because as soon as he takes another half step forward, he'll be within his range, and within a blink of an eye, he'll split him. As he starts to draw his blade, he swings forward as fast as he can, only for it to meet Damien's blade and come to a stop. Damien says as expected of a lion bloom, they sent a proper knight this time. Garrick immediately distances himself, saying there's no way that he parried his attack, and it must have been a fluke, telling him to dodge this too. Garrick starts swinging while charging in, and Damien easily blocks each and every one of them, saying that he's too slow. Garrick gets pissed, and Damien takes a step back before lunging forward, saying that it's his turn now. He starts cutting Garrick all over his face, causing him to have to rotate his wrist to use the sword to block the attacks. Garrick's now unable to see the attacks, and Damien comes in with a kick, hitting him straight in the face, making him roll backwards on the floor. He struggles to get up, and Damien says that was for Victor. Garrick manages to regain his footing, and charges back in full of rage. Damien understands what he's witnessing, and it is an ultimate technique called the Ultimate Lion's Mighty Sword of Speed. As multiple thrusts are coming towards his head, Damien says it's flashy, but that's all there is, as he thrusts forward himself, hitting the tip of Garrick's blade, shattering it into pieces, sending it flying everywhere. Garrick looks surprised, and then Damien pierces through his shoulder, cutting his arm clean off with one strike. Garrick screams before falling to the floor. Paul and Victor are surprised, but glad that he won. While Garrick is screaming, Damien turns, seeing him applying pressure to the wound, and using aura to stop the bleeding. Damien puts the blade to his throat, causing him to drop a log in his pants. He says that he doesn't know who he is, but he wins, begging for his life. Damien tells him who he is, saying that he's an idiot, and he should have begged for his life earlier, and that it's too late now. He messed with his family, and he even made his ugly servant even uglier. But now he's begging for mercy. Garrick apologizes for what happened earlier. Damien says he still doesn't know who to apologize to. Garrick looks up, as Victor's now holding a club, and Paul has his love stick. R.I.P. this guy. It jumps to a bit later, and we see them all on their knees, looking defeated. Victor says this isn't enough, asking if he can keep whacking him, and Damien says that's enough because he could die if he strikes him any more than this, but offers cutting off some more of his limbs instead. Paul tells him that's enough. Garrick crawls over towards Paul, saying that he was wrong, and he apologizes for the disrespect he's shown him. Paul glares down at him, asking if he thought a single apology is going to make up for this. If his son didn't have this much strength, their territory would have been destroyed, and would have been dragged off to the Marquis family to suffer who knows what. Garrick slams his head into the floor, begging him to show mercy. Paul thinks about it, but he's a bit afraid of what else the Lion Bloom will do, and turns towards Damien. Damien says it's not like he actually intended to kill them, because if he did kill them here, the relationship between their houses would fall completely. If he were alone, he could fight the Marquis family without hesitation, but he can't do that when he has to think about his family. But if he just let them go like this, they'll definitely retaliate soon. He thinks about what to do, and Agnes runs over, calling out to him, asking what happened here. Damien now realizes that she's gonna be really useful this time too. A bit later, after him having explained it to her, she says if that's his concern, she may be of help. He asks if she has an idea, and she says thanks to his house, they successfully killed one of Yulan's executive officers for the first time, and with that, they can designate House Hoxton as an allied household. Paul realizes that if that happens, their family might be able to escape this crisis, and he says that if it's not too much to ask, he really wants her to accept his request. She says of course, but Damien was aiming for this, as now they'll have protection of the church. Paul wonders if he just seduced her, but Damien says surely with this, everybody has heard, and they need to go report this to the Lion Blooms, and that House Hoxton is now under the church's protection, and if they try to use force again, they'll have to face the wrath of the church, and if they understand, to get lost. Garrick and the rest run off. I can't believe they're letting them leave after they killed that old guy. Victor says now they can finally breathe for a bit, but Paul says that he's not so sure, and they need to figure out what to do next, and to do so, they have to hold a family meeting. They head inside, and Paul says it's time for them to discuss. The topic will be their feud with the Lion Blooms. Abel suggests they have the church's protection, so why do they have to deal with it at all? Louise says that's because they can't expect the church to intervene fully, making Abel confused, but Paul says she's correct. The church doesn't get too deeply involved with noble affairs. Plus, the Lion Bloom's power doesn't lie solely in their military strength. If they wanted to, they could crush small noble families like theirs in countless ways. Right now, the most realistic option is to pay them off, or seek protection under a higher-ranking noble. In reality, entering into another great house's protection might be their best shot. Agnes says there's actually another way. If Damien could become a paladin, all this would go away. Damien didn't expect her to throw this in, and the family starts looking at him. He says he doesn't want to. Paul says that is off the table, and Agnes, embarrassed, says she understands. Abel slams the table, yelling out to their father, asking why he's accepting this so easily. Because if he just becomes a paladin, it's over, and that he should just force him to. As he was a pain in the ass the whole time, and only now has he changed. Abel continues to taunt Damien, and Paul scolds him, saying they have a guest, and he should sit down while he is asking nicely. Abel sits down, and Paul says that Abel is kind of right. Damien did cause the conflicts with the Lion Blooms, but it's not entirely his fault. The Lion Bloom's second son had lustful intentions toward Louise, and even if Damien hadn't acted, there's no way he would have given up that easily. In truth, Damien protected Louise from Erwin's schemes in place of her powerless father. He stands up, calling out to Damien, saying he needs to tell him something. He pats his shoulder, saying that he did really well today. He stood up to the insult against their family, and repaid them properly. Damien says it was something he had to do, but he didn't expect his father to feel so warmly about it. Paul tells him that he'll take care of this matter from here on, as he wants to act like a proper father for once. Somebody knocks on the door, saying that someone has arrived from House Gold Pixie. Paul asks what business the Duke has with them, and the butler looks a bit anxious, but tells them that Damien has borrowed money using the family's wheat fields as collateral, and the repayment period has already passed. Damien turns, and his father immediately loses that bright expression he has, and starts choking the life out of him, as he screams at him. A man enters, taking off his hat, and he tells Damien it's good to see him. Damien says he vaguely remembers this guy, and he says it's been a while since they last met, and he's come today as it's the repayment date for what they agreed on. This is the West Branch manager of the Dash in Cash, named Ulpis Dainty. He says it would be better if he used his family's land as collateral in the first place, and with every sweet word imaginable, he was the one who talked him into the crazy deal. And he wonders why he even handed the land deed over. But also, how much he owes. Ulpis says he borrowed 200 gold with interest, so it's 300 now. Damien is caught off guard, saying he can't believe how stupid the past him was for even thinking this was remotely a good idea, and at this rate, his entire family is going to be tossed out onto the streets. Ulpis says that, as he knows, if he doesn't repay the money by today, the land he used as collateral will become the property of Dash in Cash. Damien says he thought the collateral was just a formality. Ulpis says that he did say that, but what can he do, as Duke Gold Pixie ordered them to collect all debts, regardless of whether it's from nobles or commoners. So if he understands, to go and bring the money, and then he wonders if maybe he doesn't have it. Damien says he wasn't able to prepare the payment. Ulpis acts surprised, but in reality, it's what he wanted. He says he sees, and takes a seat on the couch, saying that he shouldn't have borrowed money in the first place then. Ulpis snaps his fingers, saying that he just has to collect it his way. The guards start to loom over Damien, and Ulpis says that he knew he wouldn't be able to repay it. To be honest, he does like money, but what he enjoys even more is this moment. Seeing arrogant nobles groveling before him. He wonders what kind of face the young master here will make, and he starts being freaky about it, saying that he's getting the chills just imagining it. But inside of another room, we see Paul and Abel looking anxious. Marilda and Louise though are not. Marilda tells him to rest, as he's going to wear a hole in the ground, pacing like that. Louise also tells Abel to calm down, but Paul says that their family might be ruined. Abel as well is panicking about it. Marilda says Damien said he would handle it, and they need to trust him. Louise agrees, saying that Damien recently has not failed when he stepped up. Paul says that's only because his swordsmanship is exceptional. Combat skills and negotiation skills are two different things. When in reality, they're not for Damien, as he's grabbing the guy's face like a basketball and slams him straight into the floor. Ulpis is scared, and Damien says that his father is going to yell at him, since they fixed the wall just the other day. The other guard leaps at him with his sword, and Damien hits him with that Mr. Fantastic, grabbing him by the throat. He starts lifting him into the air with one hand, saying that he drew his sword on a noble, and that this is just self-defense. Ulpis screams as he hears the sound of this dude being turned into a pretzel. Damien walks over, leaving the guy twitching on the floor. He calls out to Ulpis, telling him to loosen up, saying that he can't repay the sum of money right now. Ulpis says it's fine, and Damien says that he can repay him in another way, as he puts his bloody hand on his shoulder. Ulpis, panicked, agrees to it. And the next day in the estate, Abel says he's heartbroken. Paul asks why, and Abel says that because justice was defeated by violence. He wonders just why it's all going his brother's way. Paul says that he agreed reluctantly, but he's still worried if this plan will work. Agnes says that she can't believe they're parting already. Damien thanks her for her help, and she says that she did what she had to. Their investigations are pretty much wrapped up, so she needs to return tomorrow. She hopes that his journey is blessed. She also tries to talk him into becoming a paladin again, but he says nah, and tells Victor they should head off now. Victor says he's already got the luggage loaded, and inside the carriage, he says it's really spacious. Ulpis welcomes him, saying that while on this journey, he'll make sure that nothing inconveniences him. Damien says that's a great attitude, and with this energy, they can have lobster for lunch. He tells Victor that it's time, and Victor leans out the carriage, telling the guy to hit it. The horses get ready, and the carriage starts going, and Damien says that he's low-key looking forward to going to the Gold Pixie house. They finally arrive, and Victor looks up, impressed, saying that it's definitely a mansion fitting for a family that is supposed to be the richest in the entire kingdom, as we are now at the Gold Pixie estate. Damien tells Alpus it's a nice journey thanks to him, and he won't forget that he helped if things go well here. While he looks shiny, Alpus looks drained, saying that he already let the Duke know he just needs to go in. And then he made him work like a dog more than like a servant. He hopes things don't go his way and he ends up dead. But of course, he tells Damien the opposite. Damien thanks him, saying that he'll be back. Alpus is preying on his downfall. On the inside, someone's asking if he's Damien Hoxon, the infamous troublemaker of the Hoxon family. This is the Apple Kingdom's Duke, Adam Gold Pixie. Damien says it's an honor that he recognized him, and that they're all the same. Adam asks why he was looking for him. Damien says he borrowed money from his family's lender business, and it's already a purchase due date. Adam says that means he's his customer. And Damien says that he's sorry, but he doesn't have the money at the moment, so he wants to ask if he can offer to pay another way. Adam asks how, and Damien says rather than money, he'll instead defeat the Lion Blooms to pay off his debt. Adam looks surprised, and so do the guards who are in the room. Adam says this lad must have heard the news then, and their guard knight named Jael Heimlich says it seems so. But apparently, it's a thing that everyone in this Apple Kingdom knows. Recently, at the border shared between the Lion Blooms and the Gold Pixies, a gold mine was found. The two families, who had never been on good terms, have planned a duel involving low-class knights in order to gain monopoly over the gold mine. He already knows the result of this duel, and it will result in the Lion Blooms' overwhelming victory. They rapidly expand their forces with their newfound gold to support. On the other hand, the Gold Pixies lose their influence. In summary, if he helps the Duke win, he can pay off his debt, and keep the Lion Blooms in check. Adam says he sure is ambitious, asking if it was true that he defeated the second son of the Lion Blooms and even destroyed a large organization and land work. Damien laughs, saying that it actually is not just rumors, and it's true. Adam tells him it's tempting, and he had been looking for a knight to participate in the duel. Damien tells him he's the perfect candidate, asking who else could fight the oldest son of the Lion Blooms. One of the guards in the room is still not buying it, but Adam asks if he can really defeat him, since everybody thinks of him as a genius. Damien says it's true that he's skilled, but he's just as good. But the guard finally speaks up, telling him not to trust him, as rumors are bound to be exaggerated. Adam says that may be true. And the guard says that he's sure Miss Chelsea will bring in the perfect candidate. This is a middle-class knight, named Ernst Howitz. The other guards agree, saying that Miss Chelsea has been gone for a month, looking for the perfect knight to fight Michael Lion Bloom. And it's about time that she makes her return, and she's always passed his tests perfectly. Adam says they all do make valid claims. Damien says these ugly dudes are just ruining it for him. Adam thinks about it, saying that's what his people's opinions are at the moment, asking what he thinks he should do. Damien says he's just trying to see how he'll react, and then he'll show them. He tells them they're all gravely mistaken. If they wish to win the duel, he must use him as a proxy. No matter who might come back with Miss Chelsea, they won't be nearly as good as him. Ernst asks how he can say that when he doesn't know who she'll bring. He says that if they require proof, he'll block any of their ultimate attacks. Ernst starts to get pissed, and Damien says if he manages to block their most impressive attack, he's sure that'll prove his worth. Ernst can't believe he's underestimating him when he's just a low-class knight. Then he asks Adam if he can have his permission to test him personally. Adam thinks it's interesting and says they should run it. Outside, in the sparring grounds, we see everybody watching. Victor yells, saying that he thought he was going to convince the Duke, wondering what is happening. Damien says that it just kind of played out this way, telling him to stay back. But Victor can see that this dude is absolutely furious, saying that he feels like he's the one in danger. Adam tells Ernst to begin, and Ernst stabs his spear into the ground, saying that he'll forgive him if he gets on his knees and begs. Damien, though, starts yawning because he's getting tired. So Ernst tells him that he's begging to die. He starts to tighten the grip on his spear, releasing a blue aura, and he says that if he really wants an ultimate attack, he'll give him that. Damien realizes he might have pissed him off too much. Ernst says that he's going to pierce a hole through his face, as he dashes off the ground, coming in with one heavy attack. Damien says as expected of a middle-class knight. That said, if he just knows where he's aiming, it isn't difficult to dodge. But we see the spear change trajectory mid-attack, aiming for his chest. Damien notices it and puts his sword down to block it, causing his sword to shatter. Ernst smiles, calling him an idiot as he fell for it. Damien begins to pour blood from his chest, and Victor screams out his name. And Adam wonders why he would talk so much shit if he couldn't handle it. Damien, though, keeps his footing, managing to endure the attack, surprising Ernst, who says there's no way that he managed to hold through that. Damien sighs, asking Adam what he thinks, saying that surely the position is his now. Victor runs over, headbutting Damien in the chest, causing him to spit out blood, and he asks if he's okay, because he thought something was going to happen to him. Damien tells him that it hurts, and Adam says that he really endured the attack, and that sure is incredible. He was doubtful, but he really was capable, meaning that he has something to look forward to. He tells everybody else to listen up, as Damien has proven his ability, and as promised, he will put him as the representative. Ernst tries to argue with it, and Adam says that's enough, and he's in a good mood, so he shouldn't ruin it. Ernst says okay, and Ernst just wonders how this happened, as he definitely felt that his attack was going to land. Damien says he's being treated badly by the Duke, and he's not untalented, he just met the wrong match, since his level is already past middle class. But because only low-class fighters can partake in the duel, he had to act, and it was incredible enough to fool everyone. In that brief moment, if he had not used mana to block, it could have been really dangerous. Adam glances over, saying that he must have internal energies, and that he won't just stand by and watch. As he raises his hand, he touches his ring, opening a subspace in front of Damien. He pulls out a box, saying this is a present for him, and that it is an object called the balance pill. He paid the alchemy school a hefty amount for this. Damien says that it is also an object that increases his physical abilities, like that tonic from before. Adam says normally, nice consummate while training, but it is also effective for internal injuries. Damien thanks him. Adam puts his hand on his shoulder, saying he looks forward to his work in the future, and Damien is glad that it's all worked out. The next day, in the training area, he says that supplement definitely had a good effect. His internal injuries are almost all gone after one night. Also, he didn't have time to notice it yesterday, but this area has some insane training tools, and he can train pretty comfortably moving forward. We hear someone calling out to him, asking if he's Damien, and he turns, seeing them on equal height, only because the kid's standing on the stage. Damien asks who he is, and this is a low-class knight named Pavel Bermond. He says that these are his blood brothers, who were also here to duel knights to partake against the fight against the Lion Blooms. Damien asks if he's sure, and Pavel says yes. They all went to training yesterday, so they weren't there, which means he's lucky. If they had been there, it would not have been Ernst teaching him a lesson, but them. And a duel with a Lion Bloom is an important deed, with the duchy's fate on the line, so he hopes he doesn't drag them down with a laughable performance, and if he understands, he should leave so he doesn't interrupt their training. Damien says okay, but thinks this is good, as he is curious about their knight's abilities, and now he can confirm it. Pavel takes a deep breath and starts showing us some of the craziest techniques we've ever seen, as he and his boys are some hidden overpowered characters. It is insane the amount of skill we're seeing. Turns out they've dueled over 980 times, and Pavel has won every one of them, as they are at a standstill with so much power being exerted in the arena. Pavel realizes it's his chance and swings forward, but the other guy dodges under it, and then comes in, hitting Pavel straight on the head. The guy says it's expected of him to predict his attack and block it with his forehead, as that is definitely what went on here. He bows, saying that he's learned something new. Pavel, while bleeding, says that he's improved a lot, but it's still not his victory. Count Diabetes says it's his turn. Pavel says he needs to take a breather before facing him, but they warn him that if they don't practice now, they won't get good results, since they only have a month. Pavel says that they will definitely be able to win, and raise the honor of the duchy. They all raise their swords into the air, and in unison sing, "One for all." I can't wait for these super cool main characters to go crazy in the duel. Damien is watching as Victor approaches him, asking what's wrong. Damien says they're screwed, and he thinks they're totally going to lose this duel. Victor asks what's wrong, and Damien says that he has absolutely no confidence of any of these idiots winning. It then jumps to Adam laughing, saying this really is not befitting of a high-class knight. Jael says that it doesn't bother him at all. Adam says that he can be honest with him, but Jael says that he is. We'll get a flashback to last night, and Damien says that he prefers to train alone. As it turns out, he turned down training from Jail. Adam says that Damien sure is quite the interesting one, then asks Jail what he thinks of him. He says he's an exceptional young man. He used mana in a split second and blocked the strike. It's not something just anyone can do. Back to the training grounds, Damien sighs, saying that he has no choice but to step in. He calls out to the three main characters and puts sandbags on his shoulders, saying that they need to have a sparring match. Fable says that to challenge them after seeing their skills, he sure does have guts, and he'll be the first to answer that. Damien says he's misunderstanding. He doesn't want to fight just him. He wants all three of them to come at him at the same time. Blood looks like he's about to go to a pool. The three stare at him and start to get pissed, calling him arrogant. They throw their weapons on the ground, saying this is fine by them. While it goes against the Knight's code, when dealing with a mad dog, it's fine, as they all leap at him. Damien stares at their punches. All we see is the ceiling, and we hear Fable confused as he's looking up at it, asking what the hell happened. He looks over, seeing everybody else also asleep, and Damien says that he's finally awake, and that they're all just as pathetic as he thought. Victor asks what he's doing, as they're going to get into trouble again. Damien says this is not trouble. He was teaching the Duke's Knights a lesson. Fable remembers them attacking, but he can't remember anything after that. Right as their punches came in, Damien dodged one by turning to the side, and then sidestepped another. He raised his hand and instantly took out two of them, and when Fable was still flying through the air, he looked full of rage, but got back-fisted, which instantly took him out. Damien didn't stop there. As he was falling, Damien came in with another punch and then turned the dude into an actual cripple. I don't know how he fixed him, but he did. There was so much pain that he instantly fainted, and Fable can't believe they were all overwhelmed. Wondering what kind of monster is he. Damien says they sure are weak, and asks who's been training them. They say they're trained by Sir Sebastian Vincenzo, a mid-class knight. Damien asks if they're sure he's mid-class, and they say yes. Damien would love to tell them to quit, but he doesn't want to stir up unnecessary conflict. He tells them when Sebastian's training ends to come find him here, as they're all going to be sparring with him daily. Fable says that if Sir Vincenzo finds out they're getting beaten up, he'll think something's wrong, and Damien says not to worry. No matter how much he hits their bodies, they won't have a scratch. Fable says that's right. He just got crippled, and he's fine, asking how this is possible. Damien says back in the day, he learned a very specific way to beat people. Long ago, there was a man who roamed the continent reforming criminals. He was known as the character corrector. His method of reform was simple. He beat them for an hour straight, and if that didn't work, he doubled the duration. According to the legend, the longest he ever beat someone was 512 hours. Though through that process, the character corrector began to feel pity for his bloodied victims and wondered how he could beat someone without endangering their life. So he reached the level of a master with a technique called the traceless strike. It's what he used on them just now. It's a secret art that inflicts intense pain without leaving a single visible mark. He asks if they all understand just how weak and worthless they all are. But not to worry. They've got a month until the duel. In that time, he'll turn them all into useful bugs instead. They all look surprised, and Damien says it's time to get back to training. A man runs in, saying he's been looking for Damien. This is the Duke's attendant. He says that Adam is looking for him. Damien asks what's wrong. The man tells him that Lady Chelsea of the house has finally returned. We hear her telling her father that it's been a while and that she arrived just now, as we see her bowing in front of him. Ernst is staring at her as she smiles back at him, and he's just glad that she returned safe and sound. Adam says it's been a month, asking if she found a knight to proxy for their duel. She says yes, as she looks behind. The man stands up, introducing himself as Guillermo Blackwing the Wild Beast. He is a low-class knight. Some of the guards actually recognize him as a famous mercenary, and he participated in the Iclarian Kingdom's war, and practically massacred all other low classes, and that no low class is capable of defeating him. Adam seems surprised, saying that he's heard much about him, and that he earned his title through running wild like a beast in a war. Guillermo laughs, saying that he didn't know even the Apple Kingdom knew of him. Chelsea says that he has sworn his loyalty to her, and promised to participate in the duel, and he should easily be able to defeat Michael Lionbloom. The guards say that if that's who they're talking about, he ought to be stronger than Michael. If Michael is paving the way towards perfection, Guillermo has already reached it. Adam says this is good news, but it's quite difficult. Chelsea asks what he's talking about, and he says that he has yet to introduce him, but he found his own representative for the duel. As she and Guillermo turn around, we see none other than Damien enter the room. She looks pissed, asking her father what he means, as she told him to wait. He tells her that she did say that, but he never said he would. She laughs, telling him to change the representative, and he tells her that he'll think about it. She yells, saying that he doesn't even need to think about it, and she's never even heard of this dude. It's obvious that he should pick Guillermo, rather than some random no-name knight. Guillermo starts smiling at Damien, and Damien says to wait a second as he recognizes him. Adam says no, and while Guillermo is renowned, Damien here is strong enough to block Ernst's ultimate attack. Chelsea laughs, saying that if he doesn't want to acknowledge her skills, this is the perfect opportunity for her father to ignore them too, and his actions never line up with his words, both for her and her mother. Adam asks why she's speaking like this in front of their guest, and she sarcastically asks for forgiveness, saying that she's just so tired from her journey. Damien says that it seems like they have quite a dysfunctional family. Adam sighs, saying that he'll discuss the matter with the others first, and to stop arguing as she's excused. Guillermo though begins laughing hella loudly. He tells Chelsea there's no need to come to a decision through words when they are men. Jael also finds that rude, and he says the strongest one should be the representative, and that they should just fight and have the victor be the representative for the proxy. Chelsea asks what he's doing, and she told him not to speak up. Adam though says that he's not exactly wrong, asking Damien what he thinks. Damien says this is another test, and this is really tiring, and he knew that he would need to show off his skills to resolve the situation, but he's right. The strongest person should be the one to fight in the duel, but he doesn't think it's necessary to fight. He stretches his hand out towards Guillermo, who looks down at it, and Damien says he actually wants to check something too, and they can decide who's stronger right here and now. The hell's wrong with Buddy's eyes? Guillermo laughs loudly though, saying if he pulls off his arm, it's not his fault. Damien says that sure is terrifying, and that he'll be nice and only stop at dislocating his shoulder. Guillermo laughs, saying as if, and reaches towards Damien's hand but as an attack, and he leans all into it. Damien uses his weight against him by grabbing his wrist and throwing him straight down into the floor with a judo throw. Adam, Jael, and Ernst are surprised. Even Chelsea asks what the hell just happened. Jael though says that's amazing, and Guillermo went for Damien's wrist first. However, Damien used his strength against him and threw him onto the floor, so not only is he strong, but he is also skilled. Guillermo starts to get pissed, and stands back up, asking how dare he humiliate him like this. Damien says it's as expected, and he's sturdier than he thought, as he really tried to dislocate his shoulder. Guillermo reaches for his blade, saying that he's going to shred him to pieces, as he draws two axes, ready to fight. Chelsea tells him to stop, but Guillermo leaps in, saying he's going to crack his skull wide open, going in for an attack. We see a green aura start to get released in the room, causing Guillermo to instantly snap out of his fit of rage, as Jael tells him to stop, asking if he dares brandish his weapons in front of His Excellency, and he starts to release killing intent, asking if he wants to die. Guillermo freezes up, and Damien says that's incredible, seeing as his aura causes that much pressure, he's not a high class for nothing. Jael says that he'll let it go just this once in consideration of Lady Chelsea's honor, but that there will be no second chances. Guillermo falls to his knees panting, and Adam claps, saying that now that this commotion has settled, what is wrong with his hand? He says it'll be best for Damien to keep the representative position. Ernst says that wasn't a fair fight. Adam asks what he means. Ernst says that Guillermo had not recovered from the exhaustion as a result of the journey, and Damien had a large advantage. Damien can't believe that this piece of shit is chirping up again. Ernst continues, saying that Guillermo uses weapons and that they cannot confirm his abilities with a fist fight. Chelsea says that what he's saying is right, and they need to compare their abilities fairly, not with a kid's joke like this, but an official duel. Adam tells her to stop forcing it. She yells, trying to get him to change his mind, then he slams his desk, saying that he's telling her to stop bragging about her incompetence. She immediately starts shaking, saying that she's sorry for being so discourteous. Ernst also looks annoyed, and Damien says that he would like to say something, and he asks if that's okay, and that he would like to accept Lady Chelsea's offer. Chelsea's confused, and even Adam is. Sometime later, Victor is asking why he accepted the duel, as he would not have lost anything if he just stayed still. Damien says he has a reason for everything, so to stop with the nagging. Victor says that he's just asking for trouble. Damien looks up at a blacksmithing sign, asking if this is the one that the Duke mentioned. Victor says it is. Adam told him that if he insists, he can't stop him, but instead, since his longsword broke against Ernst, he'll have a new sword made for him. Damien says that he can beat Guillermo with a training sword, but there's no need to reject the kindness of the Duke. They enter the blacksmith shop as he looks over. Victor says that they're here under Duke Gold Pixie's orders, and that he would pick up the sword that his young master will be using. The blacksmith says that he heard they were coming, telling them to follow him, and to the back we see some really fancy equipment. Victor says they all look amazing, and Damien says they are, asking Victor if he wants one. Something then catches his eye as he spots a unique sword. The blacksmith says that it's a really good catch, and it's an item ordered by a knight who was once employed at the duchy. He had to leave in a rush for an emergency before the sword had been completed. In the end, he never came to get it. Damien asks if that knight happened to give him unified ringing steel to make this. The blacksmith is surprised, asking how he knew this, and Damien says that its form is similar to the favorite weapon of a master named sword musician in the past. He tells him that he'll take this sword. The blacksmith is surprised that he's taking this despite knowing what kind of metal the unified ringing steel is. Damien says yes. Unlike ordinary rare metals that increase mana, the unified ringing steel possesses a unique temperament that pushes mana and causes waves. He asks the blacksmith for the name of the sword, and he says that the knight who commissioned it said he would call it the 1,000-mile sword. They exit the smithy, and Damien sheathes his new blade. A woman then asks him if he found a weapon that he likes, and she introduces herself with a little curtsy as her name is Rebecca, and she serves Lady Chelsea. She says that the lady has requested to meet him, asking if he can spare some time. He says that there's nothing in particular he has to say to her. Rebecca laughs, saying that the lady has more than he would think, and he might be able to get something he needs. Damien says she may be speaking in a roundabout manner, but in the end, she's trying to appease him, and he has something he needs to check, so he'll just pretend to comply. He tells her to lead the way. Victor, put the weapons down, bruh. They head to a restaurant that Lady Chelsea herself operates. It's operated on a reservation basis, and only nobles can use it, and the entire restaurant has been emptied so that he can come. Rebecca comes to a standstill in front of a door and opens it, saying that she is waiting inside, telling him to enter. He wonders what kind of offer it will be, and he recognizes the scent as she's pouring some wine, telling him to go ahead and take a seat, Chris Hansen type shit. She raises a glass to him, and the scent continues to float around the room. Damien asks why she called him, and she says that he's quick to the point, saying they should talk after the food arrives. Damien stares at her, saying that he doesn't want to waste time, and that they should just say it now. She says that that's how it is, she has no choice, and she has one condition, and that he needs to step down as the representative. He says it seems like she doesn't trust Guillermo, and she tells him to not be mistaken. If Guillermo picks up his axe, Damien is nothing. But she's making this demand because she wants to preserve her strength in preparation for the duel with the Lionbloom family. It would be troublesome if somebody got injured in a pointless duel. Damien says that does make sense, and asks why he should even grant her request, wondering what is in it for him. She tells him that if he steps down, she'll make all of his wishes come true. He asks if she thinks she knows what he wants. She says that he's a country bumpkin, so it's obvious. He wants money and fame. He says that she sure is arrogant, and Locate pisses him off a bit. But these things would be better given to him by the Duke. She says that may be how he seems to think about it, but it would be better to be in good graces with the future Duke instead. As the time is ticking for something, she says surely if he understands that, he can go tell her father right now. As the sand finally stops in the hourglass, the scent begins to funnel straight towards him, and she tells him to go step down. Damien sits there for a second before saying that he doesn't want to. She's completely caught off guard, saying this is not how it's meant to go. He says that she's surprised that he wasn't affected by the charm fragrance. This is a type of dark magic that creates false affection to manipulate people. Having retained the dark magic knowledge from his previous life, he sensed it the moment he entered the room. Normally, at this concentration, anyone would be turned into a slave within an hour, but because of his authority, it was absorbed completely. He stands up, asking what she means by this isn't how it's supposed to go. She asks why she's being rejected, and she will give him everything he wants, and he tells her that he doesn't need her help. In the first place, what he wants is something she can't give him. She asks what it is that he wants so badly, and he says that it is his family's happiness, something that she cannot grant him. She looks completely taken aback because it's a lot deeper of an answer than she thought, and he says that he'll be on her way, and to tell Guillermo to prepare well for the duel. She bites her lip out of frustration, saying that his family must be really important to him. She low-key sounds a bit jealous. She says that she'll put it another way, and he needs to step down from being the representative, because if he doesn't, she'll send someone to completely crush his house. Damien immediately dashes forward, grabbing her by the throat, and slamming her onto the table. He begins squeezing the life out of her, and she asks how dare he lay a hand on her. Damien is fully intent on killing her, but debates it for a moment, giving the guards time to burst through the room, asking what that noise was. They draw their weapons, asking how dare he lay his hands on her, and he releases his grip, leaving his handprint on her throat. He then grabs the butter knife off the table, dashing past the guards, slicing both of their throats. They fall to their knees, and Damien says the cut is shallow, and they can apply a potion, and they won't die. He warns Chelsea that as much as he wants to slit her throat here, he'll hold back, as it would be too merciful a punishment, and that she should look forward to the things to come, as he's going to do some horrific things here soon. She is absolutely terrified of him. As he leaves the room, Rebecca tunes in, and quickly runs over, asking her if she's okay. She says that Bastard insulted her, and that she's going to make sure he dies no matter what. She calls for someone named Mustang Fury, and an absolute shocker enters the room, saying that he came as soon as he was called. She asks what the hell happened, and why the charm fragrance didn't work. He says he has no idea, and there are rare cases of people with strong immunity to dark magic, and maybe he's one of those. She hits him in the head with a glass, calling him an idiot, asking where Guillermo is. She says that he's at the tavern, and he needed to blow off some steam after what happened today. She says the duel is tomorrow, wondering why he's out drinking, calling him a madman, and asks if he's really that sure Guillermo can even beat Damien. Mustang says of course, as he is the masterpiece of Yulon, and that he's never seen a knight with greater dark magic affinity than him, that she just needs to be patient, as they will definitely hand her the house of the Duke. She tells him that he better keep his word, otherwise he'll die first. He tells her that he'll keep that in mind. We see outside on the roof, Damien is actually overhearing their entire conversation, so now he knows that she's working with Yulon. So far, there hasn't been a whole lot in terms of overarching story progression, at least in my opinion. But just a quick disclaimer, these are my thoughts, not facts, so don't take them too seriously. I've always been a sucker for the regressor archetype. Some are great, some are trash, and this one's definitely in the enjoyable category for me. The pacing feels just right. Not too fast, not too slow. It's got that steady rhythm where you never feel bored, but it's not rushing through arcs either. And I really like how Damien isn't like those other protagonists who are constantly hiding their powers like it's some big secret. No, he's all about throwing hands. If you threaten his family or just piss him off, he's ready to go. No hesitation. Love that. Now usually I do a deep dive into the character development, but to be honest, there's not a ton to dissect just yet. And that's fine. It doesn't really feel like that kind of story. I'm not expecting crazy emotional arcs here. But there have been some solid little moments, mostly from his family. And Abel. Still a straight up bitch. There's definitely room to go deeper as things unfold. I know this is based on a novel, and from what I've heard, the manhwa's pacing is way faster than the source material. So if you've read the novel, let me know what big differences you've noticed so far. One thing I do like is that we've already got a defined main antagonist. We haven't seen much of him in this timeline yet, but we've seen a good bit of Yulon, who, for now, is acting as the main obstacle while Damien works on changing everyone's opinion of him. Something I'm a bit mixed on is his no-kill rule. I get it though, in a world where your noble family's broke and weak, just wiping out enemies isn't the smartest move. He said it himself, his family is the reason he's holding back. But at the same time, it's also because of them that he's doing what he's doing now. Aligning with the gold pixies to build a proper backing, and even dealing with the church, is all about creating a shield so people can't easily mess with his family anymore. Combat-wise, this series hits pretty well. It's got that nice blend of fluid motion and these sudden bursts of brutality that really land. I'm not sure how to fully explain it, but the fights just feel impactful. And the aura farming panels. They are gas. I'm also kind of glad it didn't take 100 chapters for him to start getting strong. No, he's not at his peak yet, but he's strong enough that he can basically do what he wants right now, and that's fun to watch. Also, shout out to the fact that he's a family guy, not the show, but genuinely someone who cares about his people. He realized the importance of his family way too late in his previous life, and now that regret is pushing him forward. That kind of theme hits home, and I think a lot of people can learn from it. His mom and sister fully trust him too, which is such a nice contrast to the usual cold noble family trope. And again, Abel. Still a bitch. His dad's hilarious though. I love their dynamic. Victor basically feels like another family member at this point, and watching him get revenge against Garrick and them. So satisfying. Anyway, these are just my personal thoughts for now. I hope we get more depth in the power scaling going forward. It's a fun power trip right now, but I wouldn't mind some structure. And I do kinda hope Dorgo makes a surprise appearance, maybe just as a passerby in some random city. Though to be fair, it wouldn't make sense unless he also regressed somehow. Maybe Damien's regression was caused by that vortex when he cut into Dorgo's soul, when it got pulled into the sky. Or maybe it's just the power of authority itself, since that is a god's power in the end. Only the novel readers probably know what's really going on at this point. If you are one, feel free to drop a hint, spoiler-free if possible. Let me know what you think of the series so far, and I'll be back with another long-form update when the next major arc drops. If you've watched till the end, comment, swim, to let me know. Subscribe for more videos like this, leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.